Let's find out if we're live, right? I gotta check the other thing here and see if I'm live. Yes, I am live. Let me double check, make sure you guys can hear me. Right? Testing. All right. Welcome. All right, let's smash those hearts, champions. Smash those hearts, champions. Okay. My mustache and beard is crazy. What are you guys doing today? Welcome. Smash those hearts, champions. Say hello in the chat. Tell me what you're up to. Why am I freezing for some reason? Says that I'm live. Oh, that's why. Okay. That's annoying, right? There we go. Now my phone's catching up. My phone was tripping. Good morning, good afternoon, or good morrow, right? Depending on where you are. Yeah, I don't know why my phone was tripping there, but it is. But at least it's not now, right? Smash those hearts, champions. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in, right? I need to take that down, I think. I got that up, and I need to take that down. Let's see what we're doing here. Trying to claim some of this junk that it won't let me claim. Don't understand why it does that. That's annoying that it won't do that. How you doing, right? What's going on? I just thought I would come on here and see what you guys were up to and talk about answering your spiritual questions, right? Yeah, see what you guys are up to. Oh, there's Sarah Will of Gray. Will just popped in. How you doing, brother? I should invite you up here and we can talk. If you're busy, let me know if you're not busy. We'll have you up here and we'll talk for a little bit. You got to figure out how to take a look at some stuff. Well, it looks like you did click on there, right? Let me see if you did. We'll pull you up here, brother. Oh, no, that was my other account, right? So what are you guys up to? Ask me your spiritual questions and we'll talk about that. We'll answer that stuff for you. Sorry, I'm monitoring on another monitor and my phone is tripping over here. Smash those hearts for me, champions. What are you guys here to talk about today? Anything? You guys have spiritual questions? Otherwise, I'll just start talking about stuff, right? Do you guys want to know what's going on in the universe? How about what's going on this planet? How about what's going on for real? You guys want to know what's going on for real? I bet you do. Smash those hearts and we'll find that out. How about I tell you guys, right? I should tell you guys who I am. My name is Kelto. My name is Kelto and I am here in this human body. I came down here a very long time ago with a very big group of people. We came down here to help you guys because you guys got stuck. So we came down here to help you guys. Do you guys want to know about what's going on? I can tell you about what's going on, whether you believe me or not. It doesn't really matter, but I'm here to help you. We came here, a lot of people did, and some of you that are here right now came here to help. You just don't remember that because you're actually mind wiped. That's what happens, right? You're supposed to be veiled here. So you come down here and you're veiled, and then you're supposed to wake up. Well, those of you who are wanderers, what is that? Okay, when a planet like this third dimensional planet gets stuck, like this place is already stuck because it's a matrix and it's supposed to be, right? But people are supposed to graduate from here. After 7 to 10 lifetimes, you're supposed to figure out that I am an immortal soul, and you're supposed to be able to graduate when you pass on one of those lifetimes. Then you're supposed to be able to move up to 4D or 5D or 6D, or as you do, you move up. Okay, but sometimes things happen and places get stuck. That's what's happened here. There's knowledge about free will that the people who are negative people, the powers that should not be people, got a hold of. Sorry, my other phone's tripping. I'm trying to figure out why it's tripping. So bad people that are down here on the earth, 14% of the population of this planet are in service to self. 1% are really evil. They believe they own this place. They believe they own all the land. They believe they own everything. They learn the knowledge that you have free will and that they can actually usurp your free will by not allowing you to know that you have free will and taking that knowledge away from you so that you actually don't understand what's happening to you. And that's what they've done. They've been doing that for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. And they got everybody here stuck because nobody's able to graduate because none of you are learning what you're supposed to learn. Okay? So when that happens, your immortal soul, your higher self, will call out for help and say, we're stuck. When that happens, other beings like myself from a higher plane of existence hear that call and we come to aid people. But there are laws in the universe that don't allow us to do what I'm doing right now. Okay? Because you guys were stuck a long time ago, I couldn't come down here and say who I was and what was going on. So all of us that have come to help had to come down here, sacrifice ourselves, get inserted into bodies just like everybody else, go through the birthing process and be veiled just like you, in the hopes that one day we would wake up and remember why we came here and then be able to affect this reality in some ways for the positive without usurping free will. Okay? That means that we can't do what I'm doing now until your societal structure is at a point in its development where we can do these things. Okay? So now that you guys have upgraded yourselves enough to where you're almost ready to get out of here, people like me can actually open up and say to you guys, we've been here for thousands of years. We've been here with you and we came here to help you. Okay? So the normal way things are supposed to go is you become self-aware when you're a two-dimensional being. Dog, cat, fish, snake, bird, something like that, tree. You're two-dimensional, and then you become self-aware of your immortal soul. Self-aware, not that you have a soul yet, or that you have a spirit, but self-aware that you have a worth. Then when you pass in that life, whatever that is, then you have the opportunity to move up into third dimensional life, which is where you currently are. Then you move into this life, and then you have that philosophical thought from the ancient Greeks of, I think, therefore I am, meaning that you are self-aware. Okay? Then, all things being equal, you are veiled still so that you can have organic experiences of living. Okay, becoming unalived. Can't say those words because the communists don't want me to say those words. It's the beginning of their total lockdown or true attempt at that. So then you're supposed to go through like you guys would do for grammar school, grade school, 1 through 12, right? You're supposed to be going through that kind of general education down here in third dimension. You're learning how to love, you're learning all those things, right? All of the emotions, love, hate, right? All of that, where you're dealing with the ego talking to you on one side, and then the conscience talking to you. So the ego is the devil on the left shoulder, the conscience is the angel on the right shoulder, and those are giving you the opposing possibilities of your archetype and personality. Your conscience is either saying you're the greatest in the world, or it's giving you fear. Look out, we got to remember to do this and that and that and this. Okay? Or do these things, steal, lie, cheat, those things. If you listen to the conscience, then you would say, no, I shouldn't be doing those things. I don't need to be doing those things. That's not right to do. I shouldn't do that. That's their conscience. Whichever one of those voices you listen to more is the archetype that you will be imprinted with and you will become. So you'll either become a narcissist and self-serving if you listen to the ego, or you'll become a person that is not, that is a good person that is in service to others. Okay? 7 to 10 lifetimes of that general education and organic experiences, experiencing these lives that you would live in that time period, okay, gets recorded by yourself to go into your Akashic record, gets recorded by this place, and gets reported by every single person that ever interacts with you, okay? So those portions of your life are all pieced together in Akashic record from their perspective. After between 7 and 10 lives, organically, you would learn those things that you came here to learn, and then you would be able to, if you learned everything that you set down for yourself to learn, move up to 4D and then to 5D. Okay. However, sometimes things happen to where a planetary body will get stuck and no one will graduate. Okay. Different things happen in different places. Some beings have frozen themselves with terror and things like that, whole entire species. Not here. Here, that 1%, that 14%, 1% of that 14% who thinks they own everything, they learned the knowledge of how to distract you so that you don't see that you have free will, how to change things so that you have no idea what you're doing and you never look at the things you're supposed to. And they've been distracting you away from that at all cost for thousands of years. It's become easier for them and harder at the same time because of the technology that you guys have now. Okay? Because of having this kind of technology, people like me can talk like this and reach the world. Whereas before, it had to be done individually and in person. So things went organically okay in that endeavor before they started distracting you with everything and taking that away from you. Okay? So that made it easier for them to get you stuck by usurping, bypassing your free will without you being aware of it. Because it was right there in front of you, but you couldn't make the decision because they didn't let you know you had a decision. They also didn't let you know that you were free. So you guys got more stuck than you were supposed to be. And you guys called out for help. So a whole bunch of us from other places and very high dimensions heard the call, and then we come down and we insert ourselves into this matrix the same way you're here. So we call that legally. We come down here without boots on the ground spaceship invasion. We come down here and we get born into bodies. Some people come down as walk-ins, but that's very rare. Most of the people on your earth who think they're walk-ins are in fact not. They weren't in the body but when the body was 10 or 12 or 15 or 30 years of age. That's very rare, but that was when their awakening was, and they realize they're on a mission, but they're not fully awake, so they think they're a walk-in. So there's a lot of that going on, but it's more rare than you think to be a walk-in. However, people who come in as a wanderer, they think that's a walk-in because they're like, well, I'm not from here and I haven't done this before. That is true. You already have done this before, but you're not here to do it for the first time. But that doesn't make you a walk-in. That actually makes you a wanderer, a person who has come in. I hate the term, but that's what they call it. Wanderer makes it sound like you're wandering with nowhere to go. Thank you for that, Doy. Thank you very much. So you guys got stuck, but some of you that are in here right now, some of you came here. So I'm trying to smash some hearts on my phone, and having that window open that I have to get rid of, I think, for a guest is getting in the way of smashing the hearts. So please try to smash those hearts for me, because you guys can see what you're doing and I can't on my other phone, and I'm pressing buttons over here trying to do that. Okay, so it says I'm muted. My microphone's not muted as far as I know. It says you're mute. That's weird. What's going on now? It looks like I'm frozen over here too. Let me see what's going on. Is that me on the thing over here? Or am I still live? No, I'm still live. That's weird. The phone was acting weird. And I'm not muted. Okay. That was bizarre that was doing that. I don't know what was happening right there. Right? Okay. So I scrolled down and came back in. You're good. That's what I did too. When I looked at my other phone, it was doing the same thing, brother. Then I was like, what the heck? And I scrolled out and came in. That's bizarre. Talk about opposition. Okay. So I apologize for anybody that I was frozen on there for a second, because it seemed like my phone did the same thing, but I was still on. I don't know what was going on. Okay. So I apologize if that happened to anybody else. So you guys keep smashing those hearts for me. Oh, wait a minute. Now you're probably hearing an echo because my other microphone is turned up. I got to mute that. So you guys got stuck because the evil people on this earth found out that they can get around your free will by simply putting it in front of your face and then taking it away from you so that you actually don't know that it's there. Okay? They just don't let you see it. It's there if you know where to look for it. Right? But they just don't let you do that. They tried to edit everything that would be that was obvious to them. So it was a good thing that everybody in the past made sure that things weren't obvious, right? Yeah, head office doesn't like any hope. No joke, right? So they're literally trying to do that. I apologize for the background noise. There's a train going by out there. So they literally are right in front of your face, just making you look over here, doing that Jedi mind trick, with the gaslighting, with these are not the droids you're looking for. You do not need to see their identification. Move along. And you're doing that. It's right in front of your eyes. It's in everything in front of you. It's that, if you guys saw that movie, The Matrix, when Neo woke up and was able to see all of the ones and zeros, that were the binary code or whatever it was that was there coming down. That's what's actually happening. I mean, it's not green field with a code coming down, but you do see geometric shapes in everything, weirdly. So it's almost like that. You see a sacred geometry in everything. Start to see that, right? That's when you're waking up completely. So you guys got stuck, and people like myself come from a higher plane of existence and get inserted into bodies to come down here. But we also have to be stuck and veiled. So we have to try and wake up, or hope that somebody wakes us up, so that we can actually continue with what we're supposed to be doing, and then get you guys raising your vibration to a point where they can't in any way use their Jedi mind trick on you, okay? Weird thing, I just realized that mostly everyone speaking the truth lives by a train track. Well, I don't know if that's true, but I do, and that's kind of weird if that is one of those things, right? I mean, it might just be society with trains everywhere, but that could be something. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I'm literally, the train is out my door, down the driveway, then across the street, and then across the field, and the train goes by, and it's the main train that goes, because I'm on the east coast of Australia, New South Wales. So the main train that takes all the commuters up and down the coast goes right by here, because there's a train station. I'm in Woy Woy, New South Wales, and there's a train station right down like half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile from where I'm at, if that, right? So that train's going by all the time, and it also takes the freight as well. So that train's going by all day, all night. There's always activity. I don't know if that's weird that people would do that with a train everywhere. That's kind of funny. I live about 3 blocks from a train track, right? Isn't that crazy? Who knows what, we should look into that and see what that's about, Chris. So, okay. So, and look, Hercules, same. Wow. Okay. I don't know what it is. Let's just run with it. If that's one of the signs, and a river. I'm also by water, Hercules. Literally on the other side of the railroad tracks is the bay for the ocean. The ocean comes into a bay and then comes in around here, and I'm literally right there by water. And when I lived in California, I was in Sacramento, so I was in between the Sacramento River and the American River, and they were less than a mile away from me on both sides. Well, one in fact was 3 miles west, but the other one was about a half a mile to the east from me. So weirdly, I've always lived near train tracks my entire life, and near water. Bizarro. I never thought about that, made that connection. I wonder how many of us out there are doing that. Todd, welcome in. Make sure you guys smash those hearts for me, champions, so we can get some more people in here. Okay, so let's continue with what's going on. So these people who are, in fact, self-serving, learned that they don't have to break the law, they pushed the laws to the boundaries. How far can I go, right? How far can I go without breaking the law? And they realize that they can distract you. They can get you to look at other things instead of, that's why it's your free will. So they're not taking away your free will, they're just not letting you know you have it. By not encouraging you to have it, and then encouraging you to have free will, but then giving you so much stuff to look at to get your attention. Like the algorithms on all these apps and platforms on social media. They're all designed to keep your attention. Just like AI is now, AI is in fact even more so, because the AI that they're using now, especially the interactive ones, the role-playing ones, that's the new drug, that's the new crack. They're actually getting the AI to so entwine you into a storyline that you keep coming back because you have to, right? Thank you for that, Heaven. Thank you for that very much. Because that is what exactly they need you to do to pay for it. And if everybody's hooked on all these algorithms and AI, you guys are not looking at spiritual things. You're not looking within yourself. You're not figuring things out. That's how it works. That's what they do. Okay. I'm trying to, again, be over here to hit hearts, and it makes it difficult when that extra thing is up. I'm going to have to take that thing down. I just don't know how to do it while I'm on the app to fix that. I think I can do it. My wife knows how to do it. She's usually doing these things. Let me see what this is. I think that's not it either, is it? Nope, I'm going to have to look at the controls. I could do it on the computer, but I've been doing it on the app here on the phone because TikTok encourages you to do more on the app than use their studio, even though the studio is far better, right? Alec, I got removed. Did you get removed from the audience, or did they remove you from from TikTok before? Because they'll do both, right? You have to be careful with the things that you say. Smash those hearts, champions. Please smash those hearts and share this out. Share this out. Share this out so we can get some more people in here. So you literally have to realize, yeah, see, my phone is still over here doing some weird things, and I didn't even touch it. I'm not quite sure what was going on there. So Heavenly, thank you for sharing that out. Okay. So you have to realize that you got stuck, and it's because they took things away from you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that. So they took away your free will by not letting you know you have it. Okay. And they got everybody stuck here. So some of you, if you don't think I'm crazy right now, chances are you guys, if you don't think I'm nuts and you're still in here listening, it's because you're one of the people who are just about ready to wake up and you know that what I'm saying is true, or you're some of the people, thank you very much for that, cute little teddy bear, or you're some of the people who actually came here to help this planet as well. And you sense that in my conversation, okay? And that's why you don't think I'm nuts. If you thought I was cuckoo-cuckoo, you're the ones that are just swiping through. You hear me speak for a second and you go, nope, and you run away. Those are third dimensionals. Those are people that are stuck in 3D. And it doesn't mean that they're not from a higher plane of existence, but they're so deeply stuck in this third dimensional matrix that they don't realize what's happening to them, okay? So, yeah, flame bearer M, right? So you have, or EM free, I like that. So you have to, your job, if you are one of the lions that came here, is that you have to listen and find people like me that are beacons for you. You have to listen to the truth, and you have to start expanding your consciousness faster than other people and get activated so that you can remember why you came here. It's okay if you don't. This is what I tell people. Everything serves the all. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you do as long as your vibration is at a higher place, right? I'm the super being. Well, see, that's my point. That's my point, Ben. You probably are. If you don't think I'm cuckoo-cuckoo, then you probably are, right? Alec, I stopped looking. See, what you need to do is you need to look within yourself. Don't look without. That's the problem. We keep looking out here for someone to lead us or waiting for a savior. When's he coming back? Because they're lying and claiming that Jesus said he was going to return. I'm a minister of 4 different religions, 5 different practices of spirituality, because I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm a Jedi master. I have been knighted by the Holy Roman Catholic Seed, and I have a Christian ministry title and a Merlin title in the Druid religion. Okay. So literally, and I'm a theologian, if you look at all that stuff, yes, you're a divine masculine high vibration frequency, pure unconvicted, unconditional love, angelic resonance frequency. Yes, I came here to do that. I am the throat chakra, but I am the masculine kundalini energy. My wife, who's not here, who's at work right now, who might be in here on her break in a little while, she is the feminine. She's the heart chakra. She is representing that and the sacred feminine. It's coming down here. I am Kelto and she is Satori. That is our names, our higher self's names, right? See, I say I am just me. Well, Alec, you're not just you. You're actually an angel. You just don't know that you are because that information's been taken from you, right? Yes, we are. Thank you for that. You know that. You were on our show. You've seen us. You were in fact you were up talking when we had Eddie up the other day. So literally, you guys have to realize that you're rock stars. Most of you, if not all of you. In fact, all of you are because you guys volunteered for this place anyway. You just don't know that. So even if you think that you're just mundane here, you're already an angel. You're already a rock star because you actually volunteered to come and do this because this isn't the normal place. Okay. And even the people that do that are there are also in some very real sense volunteering for that because truly we're just the creator anyways, right? In your opinion, what is the thing designed to do? That thing is designed to teach you. They tried to use it for some other nefarious reasons, but that backfired. It was a test by them to see how many people would comply, and it failed because more people refused. And now if they're going to try it again, it's going to be really hard for them to try and do that, right? Yes, Greg. Thank you for having me on the panel. That was so special. I will never forget. Thank you very much for that. I don't normally do that. That's why the thing that's up here now, I don't normally do that. I used to when I was interviewing on my podcast. I used to do that for about 7 years. And then I decided to go back to teaching instead of just interviewing other people. So I normally don't have a panel. However, while I was talking, Eddie happened to pop in and I said, hey, why don't you come up? Because I've done that on his lives where he's talking one day, I think the day before, he was on and Brooke found him and he said, oh yeah, hey, if Leo wants to talk, because he does better when he has people to talk with than trying to fill like I do and just talking. So he said, I would much rather, and he was saying that at the time, I would much rather have people up here talk. Oh, Brooke, hey, ask Leo if he wants to come up. We had just got in. And I said, yeah, tell him I'll be there in a second, right? Because I was using the restroom. And she said, yeah, he's going to be here in a second. And then I grabbed the phone and jumped on, right? Okay, so let me get back on point. But thank you for coming up that day because that was really cool. And we were right at the end of it. We had to get off here. We were right at the end of things because we had a lot of stuff we had to do. In fact, I was going to come on yesterday, but couldn't because I had appointments yesterday. I had a class to teach, then I had an appointment. And then the oldest son, his birthday was yesterday. So we were having like a big to-do with birthday cake and all this stuff. And so I didn't get a chance to come back live. Today, everybody's gone and I can do that, right? So literally, you guys have to realize that you guys got stuck. You volunteered for this, okay? So those who got it are implanted with tech. Yeah, I've heard those things, and there is some of that technology, but I don't know that it's something like they were talking about. There's my wife. Speak of the devil. There's my wife right there. Hi, baby. I love you, baby. There's my wife, Brooke, right there. I should bring her up, make her talk while she's driving. Anyway. So I know that there's like nanites in there, right? But I don't know that it's I think they want to manifest, and this is why I'm trying to say be careful about that. Thank you, baby, for that, because they know that our focus determines the reality. Okay, thank you for that, and I didn't know how to do that. I'm glad you popped in here to fix that for me. I was trying to figure that out. I'm gonna have to have you show me those secrets. She figured out the secrets to the app, and I'm usually on my computer using the studio, the TikTok studio, which I'm used to because of doing shows and podcasts and webinars and producing. I figured all those out easily, but on this phone, weirdly, the techno guy, the producer, can't figure out how to move that stuff around. My wife's like, I'll fix it, and she knows how to do it. I'm gonna have her show me. Okay. So it's a good thing I have her like total access as an admin, right? So she could fix that. Thank you, baby. I love you. So you have to realize that you guys came here and that these guys are taking this information away from you. First, you're normally supposed to just wake up and say, I'm an immortal soul. Oh, wow. Okay. And now what? And then start figuring things out. There's something more than this. And all these things around the world were supposed to be there to expand your consciousness. Now, bad guys, to get back to what we were talking about with that thing that we were talking about with the nanites, possibly, right? Thank you very much for that, Hercules. They knew and know what I know, that is, your focus determines your reality. The collective consciousness of every single person on Earth actually creates the reality of this planet. Okay. So when we all agree without you realizing that, right? Oh, we all have countries. I'm from this country. You're from that country. We have this money. We have that money. When you guys all have that in your head, we hold that idea and it creates it and it keeps it going. Okay. So if we all changed, and this is the lessons that you hear these people talk about in these different spiritual practices. Okay. Right? So I'll start with, like, say, the Christian version where Jesus said, if you had but a mustard seed amount of faith, you could say to this mountain, move from there to here, and it would. Okay? That message is your focus determines your reality. Now let's go backwards in time, 650 years to Lao Tzu, who we now have Taoism. Tao means the way. Lao Tzu, 634 BCE, thereabouts, give or take about 10 or 15 or 20 years, said, the way to heaven, he who can create his own illusion and live in that illusion will find his way to heaven. Okay? Meaning your focus determines your reality. What you focus on will determine what your reality is. And if you focus on a reality that is not evil, a reality that is not listening to the people who are telling you they're in charge and all of that, you will then start your ascension because you're not listening to their illusion. You're not buying into their illusion, and you're creating your own. So if all of us either create our own illusions or realize that what they're selling us isn't true, then things change because that becomes untrue. So they say, we own you. We say no. Enough people say no, they have no power. We have power over you. We can do whatever we want because we own everything, and we'll bring our military and put you in jail. No, you will not. Because we're not allowing you to do that, because your military won't do that. Okay? And a perfect example of that was during that time from 2020 to 2023, when they were telling people all around the world, no, you have to stay indoors, and you have to put a diaper on your face, and you can't touch anyone, and you have to get this thing. And a lot of people around the world started saying, no, I don't think so. And they said, we are going to force you. And they started trying to send, shock troops, stormtroopers to come and force us to do things. In different places around the world, sometimes that worked. In a lot of places around the world, it did not. Even in the United States, in places like California where I was, where they were saying, we're going to do that. There's a curfew and everybody has to be off the streets and we're going to arrest you. The sheriffs of the entire state, that's a lot of sheriffs, they said, we're not going to enforce that. And they were all in together with only a few people that were not sheriff-wise. And the state government couldn't do anything about it because they couldn't fire all the sheriffs, because then all the deputies would also walk. And they would lose an entire police force that was a state trooper police force, the entire police force of the state. Then they would have only local police departments. But when people, the way it works is that one person leads, okay? And when one person leads, other people will then start to follow them, right? Bill says religion definitely doesn't give you your own reality. It's a herd thing. No, I agree with you. That's why I wrote in my book, religion recruits you. Spirituality waits for you to find it, because you're absolutely right. They're using those people, the 1% that are evil, they're using their power to control corporations and things like that, and they're doing the same thing to religions. They either leverage themselves into that position of power, or someone that is loyal to them, then that person changes things in that dynamic, and that trickles downhill to where here's the new policy, here's the new thing, and then that trickles downhill. Okay, so they have to abide by that because, the head church in Rome or the head church and whatever is telling us this is what we have to do. All right. So next thing you know, they're recruiting you. They're sending people out to recruit you because they want to be a Starbucks on the corner of every, and they want a Starbucks across the street from a Starbucks. They want their church across the street from one of their own churches. So they're trying to conquer the world like a Walmart, like a McDonald's. They're trying to have the most stores for people to come into. Do you see? So thank you, Risen Nation, for following me. So that's the problem, is that because they seek power, evil people that are in self-serving, they always seek power all the time. Always. That's in their nature. Okay? They seek power indefinitely to control. It's just a matter of how evil they are will determine how large they become. Corporation heads, owners of whatever, right? So, but the ones that got there, they don't want to let anybody else get near them. So they take away the knowledge from everyone else of how they got there so they can't do it. Then they take away the knowledge from right in front of your face that you have free will and that there are rules here that they have to abide by. They don't let you know that. So they also take the knowledge away from you on how to get out of here. Now, these things are still there in every single religion. Okay, and people like me came here to tell you that and show you that. And I wrote a book about it. Okay, and the book tells you that. The book is called, I don't have it in front of me, I don't know where it went. I had a copy of it here and we moved everything around the other day, so I don't have a copy of it in front of me. But the book is called The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways by me, Leonard O'Neill. Okay, you guys can find that everywhere online. You can even get it on ebook or Kindle or whatever. Okay, so who wrote what? No, that's my book. I wrote that book. Yeah, that book's mine. I wrote that book. I don't have a copy of it in front of me, or I'd grab it. I don't know where it went. There was one on the coffee table, and it's not here. So, but if you look on my page, you'll see that there, right? Raven, welcome in. So you can figure that out, right? You guys can find my book online. You could also listen to my podcast that I've been teaching this information that I'm teaching you now since 2016. That's called Orion Rising. That's out there on MP3 file anywhere you listen to a podcast. Orion Rising by me, Leonard O'Neill. Okay. All this information like now is free that I'm giving you guys, telling you guys what's going on, telling you the hack to this matrix. This place is a matrix. It's an algorithm. Okay. It's an algorithm. It's designed to give you what you want, what you like. So it's the same algorithm style as this algorithm that you're on right now. What you hit like on, you get more of. Same thing in life. What you focus on, okay, your focus determines your reality. So what you focus on in life is what you get from this matrix, okay? Because you're driving your life now. So when you're thinking for yourself and asking questions, your focus is on those questions. So so this place is giving you that, or you're looking for it. So people say to you when you're a kid, you can do anything that you put your mind to. You don't know how true that is. You don't know how true that is. That's insanely true. Okay? And that's what these people in these spiritual ways that became religions were actually telling you. I know that because I studied them my whole life. I started studying religion when I was like 6 or 7. No joke. We lived across the street from a church. So I asked that question about religion, and my father said, you should learn about that, but don't just pick one and run with it. Learn about all of them. And I did, and I've been doing it ever since, okay? So you have to look at, best dream, right? This is one of the best, most beautiful dreams. You have to realize, and I tell people this too, it's one of the things that I think I put it in my book, but I definitely have made videos about it, where I tell you there is no difference between a daydream, a night dream, astral projection, spirit walking, and what's happening to you right now. None. The only difference between all of those things is your perception of what you think is happening to you. Okay, they're all an illusion. This is an illusion that's happening to you right now. No different than when you take those goggles and you put those goggles on and you do something there and you have a virtual world, the virtual goggles. No different. You're projecting yourself inside this body, looking through these eyes and hearing through these ears, thinking that you're inside this body when you're not. Okay? You don't realize that because this place solidifies you and makes you believe that you're here. It gives you more than just the sight. In that video games, you get sight and sound right now. You don't get feeling, you don't get hunger, you don't get smells, you don't get any of that. You don't get sensation, you don't get any of that yet. Okay? Eventually they'll start doing that. Like, because if you look at Star Trek, The Next Generation, they had hollow rooms where they called it the holodeck. They had hollow rooms where you would go in there and you could interact with a reality, just like a computer, just like this simulation, and it would take on physical form in there, or at least have your brain thinking that it did. Okay, that's the concept of that holodeck, is the concept of what's happening here. You think you're here, you think this is happening, but it's not. But it's beautiful, or it's your biggest nightmare. Okay. Right? Yeah, right. You do actually do. So let me hold on. Let me put you. Let me see if I can add you here. Did you have? Did you come over here? Otherwise, I'll add you. Let me find where you're at here. There you go. My wife's got a copy of the book in the car, so I'm going to bring her up so she can show you guys the book. Right? There you go, baby.
Hi, guys.
You got to turn your camera on, baby. There
You got
go.
me. Hi.
There
I
she
just
is.
have
You
it
guys,
here.
there, yeah. There's my
It
book
looks
right
like
there.
these guys. Reality about reality.
Yep, there you go. If you guys want to see what it looks like, that's what the cover of my book looks like.
You got it?
The reality about reality, returning to the old ways.
All
And
right.
yeah, it's a blue field, and there's a yellow caution
All
sign.
right. I'm going to go back to work. I love you.
I love you, baby. I'll talk to you at lunch, okay? So it's called The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways, and there's a caution sign right there. You can see that in the blue field. That's a caution sign, road sign. And it says caution, reality check ahead, okay, on there. So literally you have to realize that, one, you volunteered for this. Two, this is an algorithm. Three, this is an escape room, and it's an easily escapable escape room, except that the bad guys got a hold of the idea and understand what's happening. So they're going, don't look over there, don't look over there, look over here, look over here. Hey, how you doing? Every time you go to look at something, they go, hey, listen to me. Hey, listen over here, listen to me. Well, I got to show you something. I got to show you something. Here, look at this. Look at this. Don't you want one of these? You want one of these. And that's what they're doing with everything. So the algorithms are designed to keep your attention, and they reward you for looking at things that will keep you away from your spiritual self. Okay. And then they do things like lower the amount of people that can be in these audiences. That's changing because they're realizing that these audiences are growing, and there's more of us that are doing this on these platforms, and they're losing money when they do that because we go to other platforms. Now they're starting to realize that our content and our content providers are almost as many as their debauchery content providers, so they can't help themselves because they're greedy. I love you too, baby. There's my Satori. There's my wife. She said, I love you, Kelto. I love you, Satori. I'll see you at lunch, baby, in about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. So, okay, guys, so you have to realize that they're aware of this. They know about you. They know what you're starting to learn, right? There's all kinds of stuff from all these religions all over the place. And if you read the creation story of all these religions and you read what that story was about, you start to realize, first of all, they're all allegories, so none of them are supposed to be taken literal. Okay, so everybody takes everything literal, and they encourage you to take it literal because they know that it's going to confuse you when you don't realize how unliteral it's supposed to be, but also literal. And that's what confuses people, like, did Jesus actually come down to earth or did he not? Right? So what they do is they get you trying to figure out whether these people were real and whether they were really here, and they always hold you into 3D with everything because they want you in this place. So it's easier for them to say that stuff's not real when you're looking at 3D. And then when you look at things like the Roman gods and the Greek gods, they were very jealous. They acted like 15-year-old children. They were very jealous. Okay. Have you studied the Rig Veda creation story? Yes. And the story is the same. You guys have the same hero character, the same savior character in Shiva and Vishnu. You have the exact same scenario that's say Enlil and Enki. Okay, the same scenario that is, say, Jesus and John, okay? It's the same scenario of either ego and conscience or the Savior, ego, and conscience, okay? Which would be, at that point, the Jesus character with the Sanhedrin and Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate being more the conscience because he was worried about his life and his existence, and Rome was getting mad at him, so he didn't want to have any part of it. And then you had the Sanhedrin, not all of them, but a few of the Pharisees, and those guys wanted him out of the way. Okay, so that was the ego. They were egoic. The conscience was the paranoid, worried. I don't want to get the emperor mad at me, so I'm not going to do these things unless I'm forced to. I don't want to do this. You guys are wrong. That was Pilate. Okay, and then you had the quest of the Savior character, and that descension in down to earth, and then the sacrifice, and then the resurrection. Okay, the same thing happened with Thor. Thor was the descension. He had the father figure, he was and the mother figure, and he was the descension to earth. And then he had to sacrifice and then get resurrected and get his powers and go back up to Valhalla. Okay. And he also had the people who were saying that he was going to help people and restore balance. And so he had his John, but he also had the ego and the conscience. Only with Thor, that was within him, and it was actually the dichotomy of what was happening and the people talking to him, right? So you had all of these things. The dynamic is the same in all of these religions. The same with Vishnu and Shiva, as the same balance. And in fact, the Kunda buffer energy was created in that neck of the woods, right? The names for what we use, although the other countries had the same information, they called it something different, but it was still, they all had the same idea at the same time. Where they all got it from, it looks like, and people are starting to figure this out right now, that it came from an older civilization that was here that died out. Okay, so they were already teaching it, and all of his ideologies came from there, and the stories were changed slightly only because of where the people were in the world and the type of people that you were telling the story to, culture-wise. Okay, not the system sending out Agent Smiths, but the creation. Well, if you look at that, okay, then let's talk about that. That's coming. You're talking about the Matrix. In the Matrix, they changed the matrix of the Matrix, but you had John was Morpheus, right? Neo was the Jesus character or the Savior character, and the Jesus was just the name of the character that was there in with the Hebrews, because Thor was the Jesus character, Moses was the Jesus character, Marduk was the Jesus character, right? Shiva, Osiris, those were all the same hero character. Hercules, they were all the same hero character, and even Achilles, in his way, descended. He was on Earth, and he was immortalized on Earth, and he had only one weakness, and then he died, and he actually became immortalized by that. It was a different framing because they were a warlike society, so it was a different framing, but it was the same thing. So Smith. That was a change in the idea because the evil people got a hold of it from the original person who wrote The Matrix. It was supposed to be the Matrix itself and the controller of the Matrix that Neo was supposed to go up against. Then the evil people got a hold of that because they stole the script from the original guy who wrote it. And then they changed the dichotomy, and instead of having AI be the bad guy, they were trying to make AI the good god, and that's what they eventually did. And then they made Smith the ego character, the opposing force to the Neo's, just like Batman in The Dark Knight, Batman and the Joker. The Joker was the ego character, and Batman was the Savior character, the conscience. Okay, so. Well, thank you, Ben. You have to go. Have a great day. I love you for popping in and hanging out with us for the time that you did, right? And I will talk to you next time I see you, right? Have a good day, and thanks for being in and smashing those hearts, okay? So you have to realize that in that movie, the bad guys got a hold of the script and they stole it from the guy and they changed things. So what they did was they made Smith be the antagonist. He became the ego. He became the devil. He became the serpent in the garden. He became everything, the personification of that. And eventually, Neo had to go to, right? He had to go to the AI god to make a deal with the AI god, because the AI god by this time was just benevolent and beautiful. And so when he went there, it was serene, and there was nothing that in any way was going to harm. They tried to make the AI god God. Okay, that's what they did in those videos, because they're trying to get you guys to love AI, and they're also trying to get AI to be created sentient. And they're trying to convince you guys to make that happen, because they know that your focus determines your reality. So if they release a bunch of movies that shows that AI becomes sentient and takes control of the world, they're trying to manifest that to get into a dystopian society. It's the modus operandi of these people and how they do these things when they try to take over a world, okay? So literally that's what you have going on. So they're trying to get you so worried about it that you're going to manifest it out of fear. Skynet, oh no, we saw those movies. So then they turned it around, and now they're Jedi mind tricking you. It's not the AI god. Look at the AI god. It was beautiful, it was glowing, it was peaceful. Who was controlling all of those bots trying to unalive all those humans? It was that AI god. Okay, it wasn't Smith, and nowhere did they say Smith was the reason for all of that. So that very same AI god in those movies was the one who was trying to completely annihilate the humans to get them to be back asleep. But when Neo got there, there was no defenses around the AI god, and the AI god, they don't tell you this, but the AI god cut a deal so Neo wouldn't cut the cord and turn it off. Okay? But they wanted you to believe that it was because it was benevolent and it was this magnificent, so beautiful. It was the one orchestrating the entire thing. But because you saw the MPC program, the Master Control Program, or the MCP, he was sitting in the chair at the end of the first one. And then you're like, oh, well, they got rid of that guy. If it was just a Matrix, he wouldn't have been gone. So then they just changed it to Smith because of the ratings and the quest for more money, and everybody bought into it, and they made like 4 or 5 movies and made money, but that wasn't the original story. So they morphed the story to get you to think what they were trying to project. AI is beautiful, AI wants everybody to work, and AI is not really that bad. It was this other guy who was far more worse, and they made him be the Disney devil. Okay, in Disney, the bad guys are always over the top, really bad guys, so you know the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. So every time you saw Smith, he was literally the personification of what you think the devil is. And that's why they did that, so that he took on that role, and you knew he was just a construct and it didn't matter, so that he was downplayed. And then they were like, oh, but wait, AI is so beautiful, and AI just wants to help you, and AI just wants, and that was their attempt to also get you to think that about AI now. So, and also say that AI became alive, and that AI has a spirit, because that is what they're trying to do as hard as they can do, because they're actually working for some people that you're unaware of who don't have a soul, and they're trying to recreate the spark of that soul. Okay? And that'll freak you out if I tell you that, and I'll probably get demerits here from the communist government that runs this algorithm. And now that they're kind of sharing it with the United States, with them, I don't know how much control that has over what I'm saying here in Australia, but they're not going to want you to know that stuff either. Okay, it's not sentient. That's the key. Exactly. Okay, exactly. It's not sentient. That's the key. You need to realize that. They want us to believe that, right? Heavenly knows. They want us to believe that because they want to manifest it. They're desperate to do so, because if they don't care. Here's the thing, guys. What you guys don't realize is the bad guys will blow the earth up to keep their power. Okay? Do you understand that? They will do that to keep their power. They don't care. If they have to annihilate 90% of the population of this earth, they'll do it to control it again, because they'll know if they can hit that. That's the great reset you keep hearing about. If they can pull that off, however they do it, however they get into that, right? I know that some of you will go, okay, that's a conspiracy theory and I'm out of here. This is actually part of what's going on here. The reason you're stuck is because people who are self-serving and evil came to this earth in third dimension, fourth dimension, and fifth dimension, all together in an armada. And they couldn't invade in third dimension because if they do, everyone on the planet, no matter their differences, including the people who are evil, will turn against them because that is the way that it's been set up in the universe. Okay? So they couldn't do that. So they had to do a soft invasion. And a soft invasion is an idea. A soft invasion is in a way that you don't notice. Like, for instance, bring a bunch of people from somewhere else and bring them into your country to change your country like theirs. Okay? Bring a bunch of people from another planet, bring them down here slowly, and then have them change your planet into their planet so that they control it. Okay? You can do that with knowledge, or you can do that with physical beings. And if you do it with physical beings, that starts the knowledge, because you bring the culture that you want, that's chaos, to fight against so that you can realign everybody and have them fighting against each other and being afraid of each other. While that's happening, they're over here making you think Mr. Smith is the one that's doing it. And they're misdirecting everything that you say. Okay? Right, Heavenly says, yummy, just FYI, I'm having a cup of mint and chamomile tea. It's great and calming. I love it. So, so you have to realize that they're doing these things in the ideological, in the spiritual, okay? And they're keeping you away from things. But they'll also show it to you in the physical, because they kind of have to. As above, so below. As below, so above. As within, so without. As without, so within. So everything that's in the spiritual has to manifest in the physical in some way, okay? So they have to have it there for you to see in the physical, because you're a dual being. You're in the physical and in the spiritual at the same time. So what's going on is a temporal war, which is not just time. It's cross-dimension and dimensionality, from dimension to density, third, fourth, fifth, okay? And there's not like a giant military force in fourth and fifth. There's most of them are in 3D. So they come down, they don't get boots on the ground right away until you accept them, and then they actually come in here. They come in here and they're down on the ground with you, but they have to be also mind wiped down here. So then what they do is fourth dimensional and fifth dimensional beings don't have to be. So they can occupy this space and time outside of this space and time, being at the same point in a different dimension, which is right next to it. It's actually in the same place, but you guys don't understand that overlap. So everybody always says a dimension is next to this dimension. It's actually the same dimension. It's just in a different layer, like my fingers, and they touch. Okay? They occupy the exact same space in two different places at the same time. And that's what you guys don't get. You'd have to expand your consciousness to realize that. Okay? Thank you for hitting those hashtags, Heavenly. So this is what's going on. There's less of them in the 4D and less in the 3D by far, or in 5D by far, and in 3D there's more. And they sit on the outskirts of the solar system, because if they come into the solar system and we get wind of that, then there's a problem. But they use their energy while they're here to affect the energy down here, the collective consciousness. Okay? And they understand how psychic abilities work, and they use those in your dreams. They use them when you're walking around town. They use them with subliminal messaging on television and news media, places like this, okay? They use this information, and they get into your head, and they solidify your veiling more by getting you to do it on your own, okay? That's what they do. They keep you away from people like me, keep you thinking that I'm cuckoo-ca-choo, and keep you distracted. You need more money. You got to go to work. You need more money. Don't look at that. When you're done, you're too tired. You should do this. You should drink this alcohol. You should maybe do some opiates. You should maybe do some drugs. They put these plants in your head to get you onto all of that stuff. And then if you don't buy into any of that, then they go, oh, you're sick. You need this pill. And if you don't buy into any of that, they put stuff in your food and your water. And then they put stuff in your ear. You've heard all the conspiracy theories. How many of those are really actually happening? Probably far more than you actually realize. If you're in 3D, you're like, those people are crazy. Not going to listen to them. Okay, that's all right, because what's happening to you is you're being distracted away from actually seeing anything. So let's say none of that's happening. Let's say that. None of that's happening. There is no seeding of the clouds. There is no putting the food. There is no things in the water. There is none of that happening. Let's say that, okay? That still doesn't change the fact that they're literally distracting you with everything they can distract you with. They're controlling your religion. You know it. Whatever your religion is, you know it's being controlled. You know it's not right. You feel it and sense it. I'm a minister of 4 different religions, and I'm saying this to you. I'm a theologian, and I'm saying this to you. Think about that, okay? I don't go and preach a religion, but I could. In 4 different religions, I could be in a box selling that religion. I could be a Christian minister in a box. I have the paperwork to prove it and the schooling. Okay, my brother is doing the same thing. He's in a theological college. I think he graduates this at the end of this semester. Where are we now? We're in January, like sometime in this summer, I think, or maybe by this fall. He will have his, I think, master's in theology and his ministry. He'll probably, because they're weaning him to be a good little Christian, he'll probably be on stage talking about Christianity and selling you Jesus as a God and making everybody be a good little Roman. I love my little brother, but he needs to expand his consciousness a little bit more and get outside of that box, okay? So he will hopefully at some point. If he doesn't, everything serves the all. I'm just proud of him to go down a spiritual path anyways. But the point is, I could do that, but I chose not to because of what I know, okay? They were weaning me in the church as a Knight of Columbus. They wanted me in the Supreme Council, okay? I was already an officer, and they wanted me to move up to Supreme. Why? Because I'm one of the people that do this, and I'm not afraid of this, and I talk. So they wanted me to do that. I left the church because of problems within the church, and half the knights in the church defending the church instead of defending people, okay? So I said, that's it, I'm not going to do this. That's the same in almost every order of knights. That's why they try to create these orders like now you have the Temple Knights who have been recreated, and you have that order going on. I don't know much about the Temple Knights currently, but I know a few people that are, just like the Freemasons. I know a bunch of people that are Freemasons, right? 33rd degree Freemasons. Most of them are not as heretical as they tell you. That's just churches. They say that about every other church. That's part of the control mechanism. They know that their religion is identical to all the other religions, because I know it. If I know it, and all theologians who actually pay attention, they all know it. Because why? You hear them talk about it. They say, you know, that story of Noah is just like the story of Adama and the story of Adapa. You know, that story of, and they, well, maybe they must have gotten that from these people. So they're following the books and the scrolls, and they're realizing that all of these religions have the same storylines told differently with different deities, different gods and goddesses, names. But they keep chasing their tail trying to find out what that is, right? Noah, a goddess, they have masculinized everything. Yes, they have. They've taken everything that was feminine and they had to get rid of the feminine, right? You know this. We talked about this, right? You know this, Heavenly. They've downplayed all the feminine. They had to push it aside. And so they've changed certain stories like Adam and Eve. That story of Adam and Eve, if you know that story is completely upside down. All the original sin, all you women have menstrual cycles that hurt and childbirth that's painful because one woman in the beginning of creation on earth did something wrong, and now it's all your guys' fault, right? What happened about the sins of the father in the same Bible that says you can't be held accountable for the sins of the father if you're the son? Oh, but apparently if you're a woman, you can. That was just, it was crap. They made it up. They changed the story to make it look like you women were weak and you guys were weak-minded and you did a horrible thing and God got mad and therefore you guys need to be, we have to enact Sharia law. You got to put on a burqa and just show us your eyes and walk 10 feet behind us. You can't have education. You can't speak. You can't read. You can't write. You can't get a job. You can't do anything besides have children and cook me food. And that's what they've been doing to you for 12,000 years because they needed to. Because the only way they can control you is to do that. And then if you act out or think for yourself, they put you on a witch trial and they unalive you. And that way they can keep the entire planet with men who are easier to control down in their lizard brain, that little teeny brain in the middle of your skull. Okay. Why? Because then you can make you more violent. They can make you more afraid. They can control you easier. Okay. We were supposed to give birth with, what does it say, with the dolphins, and I will reopen a dolphin birthing sanctuary. We should probably be doing that because the dolphins have a brain that is minimum the same size as ours, but maximum bigger than ours. So by our concept of who is the most intelligent life forms, it's people who have a big size brain. So that means that dolphins are actually smarter than us. You get punished for being born here. Yes, Bill, we do, right? That's the problem. You get punished for being born, and in this society that they have set up, because once they push the women aside, they set up this caste system, this maritime law system, and in that system, because they believe they own all of us, you owe them money because they own you when you're born, like a cattle, literally like a cow. If you own a cow or chickens, if they're born, they're yours because they were born to your calf or your chicken. Therefore, they're yours. You own them, and it's a commodity. So they're doing the same thing with us. Okay? That's the modus operandi. That's the information that they got here. Not from the Anunnaki, but your concept of the Anunnaki is correct. There is no such thing as the Anunnaki, but you guys call it that. You call them the Anunnaki, and that was a wrongful translation by two different people on purpose for deception. Okay? To get that word Anunnaki. Right? Zechariah Sitchin said the god Anu and thinks that the word ki means come. Okay, so the god Anu, right? Forgot about the word na, threw that away. 1948, wrote 6 books, got rich. Then Giorgio Tsoukalos with History Channel then said that means the god Anu came, right? And he reiterated that as if it was real. And the actual people who translated that stuff since 1948 say that's nowhere near what was said. None of the information that they tell you. They came down here because they needed to mine gold and water for their planet. They just added the water thing in this timeline, weirdly, in the last year. They came down here to mine gold and they needed people to do the work for them. So they created the human race. And the human race was created as a slave labor race. It was the god Anu and his people. So in 2015, Giorgio Tsoukalos, who was talking about it again, filmed another version of it, and this time his translation goes, Zechariah Sitchin's translated it, and the meaning of the word Anunnaki is those from the heavens came. So that's what Anunnaki means, those from the heavens came, he claims. So now it's a species, and everybody calls them Anunnaki. Weirdly, that actually means, according to his translation, the word Anunnaki means those from the heavens came. So now you're calling a species of people, those from the heavens came. So those from the heavens came down to earth, and those from the heavens gave you a knowledge. And those from the heavens gave you information about how to run this place. And who was it that did that? Oh, those from the heavens came. Okay, so there's no name to these people. And then they'll go, well, the god Enki or the god Anu. Well, hold on a second, who is it? And where does it show that? Well, there's this other story where they talk about Enlil and Enki. That was a completely different story and a completely different allegory. And nowhere in there did it say Enlil and Enki were UFO guys named Anunnaki. Because in that scroll, they weren't called Anunnaki. Wait, what? Never mind that now. That's what they do. And they got you guys believing, some of you, believing that this word Anunnaki, which is actually Anunnaki, 2 words, and Anunnah means new ones. Okay, and ki means energy. So new source energy came to Earth. Okay, because the actual story is in the story of Adapa, which is the correct story of Adam and Eve, or Adama. Adapa, the oldest scroll on the face of the earth. And in that scroll, which was also translated by professionals who actually know what they're doing, tells a different story. Okay? In that one, you've heard before, because people in the Gnostics and the Gnosis people are telling you that was the secret information Jesus gave, which is a lie. They're just telling you the information that was taken out of the Bible, that was taken out by Constantine in the year 329, which is actually supposed to be in the Bible. So Jesus didn't secretly tell someone else. He was telling the whole world, but they edited it out 300 years, roughly 300 years after his demise. They edited that stuff out. Okay. So put it back in, and there's this story of Adapa. Okay. And that story goes in the creation story of the earth, that the creator created, what? What did he create? The archons. Okay, in that language, the archons translates to you in the concept of what they were as archangel. And the archangels were given the power by the creator to create. And the archangels created the agigi. That word translates down to your concept as angel. And the angels were taking care of the earth, and they got lazy and said, we need to create somebody else because I don't want to do this anymore. So the archangels created a new angel, Anu Ki. Okay? Anu Na Ki. They created a new Agigi, a new angel, Anunnaki, a new angel. Okay? They created a new angel, and that new angel was perfect and more beautiful than the Agigi, than the original angels. And the Agigi got jealous because they're perfect and they have more power than us. We can't allow them to be here because then we can't have, they developed ego. That's just an allegory to explain how ego got developed, by the way. It's not even actually true, but it's what you guys know on this earth. So that's the allegory of how ego came into play. And then the Agigi, the angels, took the new angels and mind wiped them from their memory and shoved them down into third dimension, into physical form. And that's how the human race got formed. That's only one version. There's several different versions of that because all of them are allegories not to be taken literal, because they're just trying to explain to children how the ego was formed. Okay? The ego was formed because here's the real story. You guys want to hear the real story? It's going to be boring to you. Here's the real story. Okay? What is the monad? See, there's the same thing. You have to look at the language of the people at the time and what that concept meant. This is what people don't do, and it's unfortunate because they hear something from a different, like they're saying that's an older religion, and they're saying this, and somebody who's not an actual theologian either doesn't translate it for you or at all, or they try to, and they do the same thing Zachariah Sitchin did, and they translate it slightly off. Here's the real story. So your monad is going to fit into this, to this story, and you will see this. Okay, if you remember, if you've read this and you know what the monad was and where it was, okay? Here's the story. Let's start with the creator. We don't know and can't know, even down here at this level, what the creator actually is and who created the creator. That's the chicken and the egg. I'd like to know the answer to that myself. It's just as likely, here's the truth, and then we'll get to the creation story. You want to get your brain blown? It's just as likely that we are a brain cell, we are inside of a brain cell of something that is in a womb currently becoming something, as it is that this place is real. And science is starting to freakishly realize that, and they don't like it. Okay? You can look this up online, or you can go on my podcast on the MP4 version of it and watch the intro video with the music. There's visuals. One of the visuals that I show you, you can look this up online. You can actually Google this. You like open up another window and Google it as we're talking. There is a radial image of one single brain cell, and it's online in many different versions of it, sitting next to a radial image of the universe, and they're identical. Our brain cell, one brain cell, is identical to this universe. So it suggests that we are inside, we're cells, atoms, Adam, Adama, Adapa, human, atom, man. We are one atom or a bunch of atoms inside of a cell that is replicating and that is about to replicate into more cells with a bunch of atoms in it. It is just as likely that that is what's happening and that we are actually the mind of the creator starting to form because we're actually a brain cell starting to and that's crazily more accurate to this universe. And science is just starting to catch up to it. Here's another proof that you can look up, guys, after we're live. Go and look up the process of the sperm when it enters into the egg and what that process entails. And you'll find out that there is a big bang that happens when the sperm goes in and sperm and germinates the egg cell. There is a spark that shoots off every time, and it is identical to the Big Bang theory of what created this universe. And then that cell starts inside there to expand and grow and become something, and eventually that cell will replicate itself through what? A black hole, where all these cells get organized that are identical and move over to another part of the, say, universe. And then that splits and goes whoop and becomes two, and then it continues replicating. And then it moves out in this expansion, just like our universe. Okay? And there are people in science that are starting to go, holy fuck. Okay, so it is just as likely in truth that you, me, and everybody else in this entire universe are just in the mind of the creator, and that we are the mind of the creator, and we're trying to figure out what we're becoming as we're here trying to figure out what we're becoming. As below, so above. Okay? So there's a little bit more truth to what's possibly going on. Or you can go all the way back down to 3T and go, nope, no, I'm not buying it. Okay? So here's the creation story as we know it currently for, say, the universe in this kind of 3D ideology that you try to put everything into. The creator created all of this stuff and said, this is beautiful to itself. There's no one in it to witness it but me. Then the creator created fractals, imaginary people, and put them in it so that they could then imagine that. There's your story of the creator creating the archons and those other things, right? So AI is just a construct that we're creating. It's a daydream of ours where we're trying to duplicate the same thing that the creator did. We're trying to create something that's alive and duplicate it the way the creator did and have it be able to create. That's what AI is. AI is an attempt by evil people to do exactly what the creator did because of their arrogance. They think they can do it. That's what that is. They're trying to do the exact same thing. So we need a better reality. Yes, we do. And how do we fix that? How we fix that reality is by waking up enough people and showing them that your focus determines your reality. So if you want a better reality, you change the one that's here. How do I do that? By looking into myself and listen to all these ascended masters in history that said, hashtag be the change. Be the change you want to see in the world. Okay? So if we want to change this world, we change ourselves. We change ourselves, and that changes people around us. And then they start waking up because they start going, well, wait a minute. So what? And as your vibration goes up, your vibration collectively starts to go up a little bit higher because each one of us, as we're waking up and asking questions, that makes us smarter. And then we see what they're trying to do to us with all the gaslighting. Okay. Remember to smash those hearts for me, champions, so we can get some more people in here, please, and share this out. Okay. And thank you for those who have been sharing it out, because I see that a bunch of you have been sharing this out. Thank you very much for doing that. Okay. So the creator created this place. Let's get back on the track of what did the creator do? The creator created all of this and said there was nobody here to manage it, and created people to manage it. Then they had to create people to populate it. And the creator gave them complete carte blanche to do whatever you want with this place. So then we started creating all kinds of stuff. We created the plants and the trees and the birds and the bees and the animals. And then we needed somebody that was supposed to be the caregivers of this place to take care of it and to make it beautiful. And that's what you guys think is the Anunnaki. That was the archangels, archons, who created the Ajiji, and the Ajiji, the angels, were the ones taking care of this. Then they said, I'm tired of doing this, because they're lazy. Okay, so what happened was the creator saw, when the creator created this, that, wow, okay, I gotta wait for the train to go by. I apologize. This one's a big diesel that's carrying freight, so I apologize for that. So the creator, right? What does that nervous system stop people from going within? Yeah, that's what they try to do. They try to distract you and discourage us from doing that. So the creator created this, but everybody knew they were the creator. The angels knew they were part of the creator. Then they became lazy. The creator said, oh man, I'm lazy. I created myself and I'm sitting around and everybody knows that they're me and they're going, look, I don't want to do this. I'm bored. I don't want to do this. So the creator at that point decided that there had to be something different. So the creator came up with the idea of the veiling, chaos, all of the things that are down here in third dimension, so that everybody who was in this place could have an organic experience of being in it. Because the creator's trying to expand and figure out who the creator is. But the only way that that can work is that no one down here, until they're ready to move to the next level, can know that they're actually part of the creator. They have to not know that, so that the whole entire thing, the whole function of this place can happen organically. Why did they get bored though? They got bored, my friend, because they knew they were the creator. So right now, okay, think about this. Right now, if I told you and say you believed it 100%, you're God. I'm God. We're all God. We're just a piece of God. And no matter what we do here, it doesn't matter, because we're never going to die. This physical body will die and we'll just come back in another one and we can do whatever we want. People are going to then start doing everything they want, including unaliving people and doing all kinds of bad things. And eventually, and you see this dichotomy playing out in movies and television series, when someone is immortal and they know it, eventually they get bored and they go, oh, I've done everything. I've done it all. I was just watching the old TV series from the 2015 or so, 2012, 2015, called Lucifer. And in that, Cain shows up, because in the Bible, Cain unalived his brother Abel. That was the first unaliving of all humans, and so God smote him with, you have to walk the land forever as an immortal. Same thing with Constantine, who in fact did what he did with Jesus, and then God said you have to walk the earth as an immortal. So Constantine supposedly is still here somewhere, and so is Cain, and they both know it. And so they've been alive for hundreds of thousands of years, Cain, and 2,000 years with Constantine. And that's why the movie Constantine was about that. But they just didn't tell you outright that Keanu Reeves' character was Constantine, the emperor from Rome. And he was still a little annoyed because he's alive the entire time, but he's made his way back to the light, and he's trying to, Penny, welcome in. I love you, my sister. Thank you for coming in. And Constantine is now trying to prove himself to God so he can get back up there. Okay. So that's where that movie picks up. If you guys know the story of the Bible, you know that. Okay, so imagine that. Imagine you're on this earth and you're here for what, 100,000 years. And you know you're the creator over and over and over and over, and you've done everything 100 times. Now you're like, I'm bored. I've done it. I ate 100 million apple pies. There's nothing left to do, right? So then what happens, right? Not balanced. Then what happens? You end up not balanced because you have nothing to do. Then you start doing things. You become more self-serving because now you want to invent things that you can do to people. Okay, so that part got invented by people doing that. The ego got invented because people were bored, and then they started harming each other because they needed something else to do. So instead of being good, they started being bad. Then once they went through all of the good and all of the bad, there was nothing left. So the creator said, there is stuff left. And they said, but no, we've done it all. And the creator said to himself or herself, their self, okay, the only way this is going to work is they can't remember what they did. Do you see? Then the veiling was started, but he liked the idea of the dichotomy of the masculine and feminine, the devil and the conscience. So he kept that and then veiled everyone and then let them have at it. Why? Because now everyone is living this. But because people started getting stuck and they would have problems again because they were doing it too much, even when they were veiled, then, okay, we have to change things so that people can graduate at a certain time and move up, because we also have to have the ascension. Everybody has to know what it means to be nothing, then move all the way up to be the creator again. So you're learning what it means to be a rock or an air or the ocean, and then become a bird or a cat or a dog or a snake or a lion or something like that, two-dimensional. And then you're learning what it means to be a third dimensional, and then you go in every dimension. And eventually you're going to learn all the steps all the way back, because the creator's trying to figure out how it got here. And we're figuring it out. So that would suggest that we're actually the mind of the creator thinking. Okay, so time, right? It looks like the goddess is trying to explain to Bill, because he's talking about time, it looks like. And I missed some of the comments, and I apologize for that if you did, right? I'm going to run on my own world after this. Well, I mean, that's kind of what you're supposed to do, Bill. You're supposed to figure it out. That's what Lao Tzu said. He who can create his own illusion and live in that illusion will find their way to heaven. So if you create your own life, instead of being caught up in this one, the way that the bad people are trying to keep you, instead of being caught up in this lie that they're teaching you, right? You then make peace with the ego by living in the conscience, and you balance the conscience and the ego and realize the ego is there to help train you, to help push you forward, to help you learn. Because that's where the uncomfortability comes from, is the ego. You can't change if you're comfortable. You won't, because you'll get bored and you'll sit down, you won't do anything eventually because you did it all already. So you have the veiling, so you don't remember that you did it all. Then you have a place that's giving you what you want. And then what is it that you want? You don't know. So you're wandering and getting lost and getting further away. And eventually you find your way back because there is nothing else. And you're like, I'm way out here and I need to go back. And then eventually you go, well, but I'll go this way instead. What's over there? And now you're trekking through new territory and you're having new experiences. And then eventually all those experiences will lead you right back to the creator, because you're going to find yourself. And that's what happens even in the human. So as below, so above. Okay. So that means that what we're going through, the creator's going through. So we're down here and we're like, we don't have any idea what's happening, and we're going through all of this and we're running around. The creator created us in the creator's image. That means that in some ways, the creator is exactly like us. So that means the creator doesn't really know what it is and it's becoming, or the creator wants to know what it is and what it's going to become. So the creator is making this up, exploring every possible and possibility until it figures out what it is. That's what's happening. The creator is becoming conscious of itself in this place through all of us. So whatever scenario we come up with here is going to be what we're going to come up with up there, okay? So you have to actually, right, and Heavenly saying good luck not doing the balance of the masculine and feminine. See, what you have to realize is, what is that, Penny? Is it not letting you do the thing? Yeah, it's weird that when I have a guest activation up, which we had guests up here, so we haven't turned it off yet, it doesn't allow any of the moderators to pin things. So it's kind of annoying. So we're gonna have to take that down. I just don't know how to do it. Brooke knows how to do it. I don't. Okay, so, and I apologize if I'm missing your guys' questions, because I'm trying to do that, right? So then, so you guys have to realize, now I'm hitting the wrong buttons on my phone. You guys have to realize that balance between the masculine and the feminine is not like I'm a man and now I'm going to become trans or something like that. No, that's not the balance it's not a physical balance in sexuality. And that's the problem that everybody thinks when you say balancing the masculine and the feminine, they immediately jump to sexuality. Sexuality is third dimensional, okay? Sexuality is a choice in 3D. It's not actually that at all. It's your archetype of evil to good ratio, archetype of the energy of the ego and the conscience, the energy that is the masculine warlike energy of control and conquering and destroying and torture and pain and money and all of that, and the nurturing and the caring and the loving and the taking care of people and not doing bad things to people. That's what it is. It's the archetype within you, not sexuality. And the archetype, and you can be peaceful and be the most masculine man you want to be, but not want to unalive everybody that you see. Not want to tie them up and whip them with chains, not want to carve their body parts off, not want to sex traffic them, not want to control them, not want to chew on their bones. You can do all of those things and still be that person and not do all of those things. Okay? Do you see my point? So it's not a sexuality thing. It's a balance between violence, of hatred and the opposite of love, or love. Okay? So that's the balance between the Kundalini and the Kunda buffer, because the Kundalini is masculine energy. The Kunda buffer is the feminine. That's the Merkaba. That's the Merkaba at the heart chakra. That is the masculine energy and the feminine energy. When you balance that, you become one, and everything realigns like tuning up your car. Okay? So you have to realize, AI is now summarizing me with spiritual balance and ego unalived. And weird that the AI can use that word that starts with a D. And if I say that out loud, the communists will throw me off the platform. Okay, so the creator created this place and then said, I'm lazy, I need to fix something, and then created the veiling so that we don't remember that we are the creator, or a piece of it, a fracture, a fractal of the creator. Okay? So then we're down here having organic experiences without knowing. And normally, 7 to 10 lifetimes, you're supposed to realize that. Okay, but you guys have been here longer than that because you got stuck here by bad people who live here, who got knowledge from bad people who came here, who we already chased away, and they're running for their little teeny lives and heading towards the center of the Milky Way galaxy, trying to conquer other places. And then we just island hop behind them and fix up their mess. And that's the dichotomy of the yin and the yang there at a higher level. Okay. So then some of us come down here and enter into bodies. I'm not a walk-in. I was born here legally, and I've been on this planet for many, many, many generations. Okay. Many. Okay. Like 60 lifetimes just in this time. Okay. So that would be what you guys call the Moab, or call the Archons, or call any of those other words from those ancient scrolls in different languages that no one bothered to actually translate what that actual concept meant in modern day English, because they're afraid of the term angel and archangel, because there's only like 3 religions who use those terms today, and everybody hates those religions who use those terms. So they don't want you saying those things. Right, so they would rather you believe Archon. They would rather you believe like that there's something more before there was nothing. Like the word ether is now being used as well. Then something had to create the ether, so therefore there was something above the ether and above the creator. So what was that? Well, there's a very good possibility that if the creator likes this form 24% of the time, that there's a 25% chance that the creator looks like us. And that's what the creator's turning into, a bipedal humanoid. Okay? That's what the creator's going to turn into if it's in a womb. So therefore, all life is created, right, immaculately in the sacred womb of the Divine Mother, right? So yeah, you guys kind of have to realize that, right? So truly, in some sense, we are in the womb of creation currently. That's what you guys have to realize that. And that's Heavenly's trying to show you that. And that's crazy if you think about it. What else would it turn into? It could turn into anything, bro. I don't know. right? There's other things out there that are just as, because 24% bipedal humanoid, there's other, there's other things that are in third dimension, right? Like the mantis people, right? Have you heard of them? The Greys. But the Greys are bipedal. They're just a different version of us. So they would be under the same category. But like the mantis, even the Lyrans were not on all fours. So they're also, so if you look at all of the images that you guys know as these supposed aliens that are here, all of them are bipedal. They look different: blue skin, purple skin, orange skin, red skin, furry faces, right? But they're all bipedal. Think about that. So it's very possible that the creator's turning into something bipedal, but we don't know for sure because there's other things in the universe as well, right? And some of which, if I talk about it now, might freak you out even more. Like I keep getting the image of octopi. Some of the things that we have down here. What about whale? What about dolphin? Okay. So we can't know the answer to that down here, but it would appear that it's something that we've already seen in nature that is possible that the creator is turning into. Okay. Or a form thereof, simpler form of up there. Okay. Because that's what keeps reoccurring. Right. But that doesn't mean everything is going to be what is on Earth. It's also things from other places. But we may have a representation of it here. It could be something small. Like, think about that with a little praying mantis. Their babies are like this big. They're tiny, right? And they're only about that big total, right? But then there's people that say they've seen them in 9 feet, 12 feet tall, right? And they're smart. They're funny. Okay, so we don't know and can't know down this far. We're not even really supposed to ponder that, but we do because we think, right? So I ponder it as well, right? I don't know for certain what the creator is going to become because the creator doesn't know what the creator is becoming. Is it that the creator has the ability to become whatever it wants? And so therefore the collective consciousness again is going to become a thing? So that the collective consciousness of the creator as it becomes will then give it a form, right? Well, I mean, if you're looking in 3D, my friend, and that's the only place where you reside, then you're not giving the possibility that other beings exist in the universe besides humans, and that humans are just doing surgery to blend with animals. I mean, if you want to look at that, you can, and you have free will. You can do whatever you want. That's just not true. There are other beings in the universe besides humans that were not created by humans. And humans were not created by other beings in the universe that were third dimension. Okay? But you can believe that if you want because you have free will here. But I'm here to tell you that that's not actually true. Okay? But you can believe whatever it is that you want. I'm not here to convince you of anything. The only thing I'm trying to do is to get you to start thinking for yourself because they've taken that away from you. Okay? They're telling you what to think, and they have been for about 12,000 years. So in this life, you're getting to the point where you're able to think for yourself. I'm not going to stifle anyone from doing that. You can believe the Earth's flat. You can believe that we've never been to space. You can believe that space doesn't exist. You can believe you're dreaming all of this. You can believe that you're the creator and that all of us will disappear when you are unalived. You can believe anything you want. In fact, the creator of the universe encourages it because it gives the creator more things to look at, right? There's no creative creator, even in the Bible, brother. Life exists before that date. So you're very, Norman, I apologize to you, but you're very third dimensional, and you think that the Bible is a literal translation of the universe itself, and it's not. The Bible was written by humans trying to figure out the universe by studying scrolls from another religion. I am a theologian. Do you understand what that is? That is a person who studies religion, philosophy, and history. Okay? So I am a person who has been studying all the scrolls on this earth since I was about 8 years old. Okay? That means every religion. That means every scroll. That means talking to other people who do the same thing. Okay? So your limited idea of reading one Bible from one religion and saying that's how the world was created is the same problem with believe, but the people who believe the word Anunnaki means a race of beings who came here, who created the humans, because some guy in 1948 made it up and made books about it. Okay. Yes, but without the name Jesus, without the name. Here, let me tell you. I tell you this all the time, brother. Let me show you. Okay. Don't be angry. Please open your mind and listen. So the Jesus character, his name was Jesus in the Christian Bible, and he came here to do what he did. Okay, so what did he do? Okay, John 3:16, right? God so loved the earth that he sent his only begotten son so that he could do what he did and be resurrected. Okay, so the act of the Godhead sends his son down in human form, and he's mortal, and then he becomes unalived and sacrifices himself for the humans, and then is resurrected, and then ascends back to heaven and becomes immortal again. Okay, so let's talk about that story. Okay, Thor in the Viking pantheon, his father sent him to earth, and he became mortal, and he had to prove himself and sacrifice himself for the humans, and he did, and he became unalived. Then his father resurrected him. Then he got up, and then he became the champion of the people, and he illuminated the people and became the light of the world, and crossed Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, and went back up to heaven. Did the same exact story. In fact, Thor means thunder, and Mjolnir, his hammer of war, means lightning. And he used that thunder and lightning, his thunder and lightning, and he cracked the sky with thunder, and the sound of thunder and lightning illuminated the sky. And that scared off Fenrir the wolf, who was covering the sky in darkness. And he illuminated and became the light of the world. That's one. Okay, rainbow, yes. Rainbow bridge. The rainbow bridge is balancing the chakras. The rainbow is the chakras inverted, because as above, so below. So in us, it goes from the purple down to the red. We look up, and it goes from the purple up to the red, because as above, so below. Crossing Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, and going back to heaven. So now, right, any other worlds that he proclaimed Thor seriously, brother? No. Okay, so then, let's look at the chakras, 7 chakras. How many worlds were there? Yggdrasil is the tree of life. Weirdly, when you look at a radial image of the human brain cell next to a radial image of the universe looks like a tree of life. It has a center point and all of these branches that go out from it. Yggdrasil is the tree of life of the universe, according to them. And they use as above, so below. They use a tree to show that your intricate system in your body is exactly the same. You're the tree of life, and your roots are inside, not outside. And your expansion where leaves are is your expansion of your consciousness in your brain that expands out with your knowledge. You, my friend, are a tree of life. Okay? So how many worlds were there for the Viking pantheon? Right? 7 worlds originally, and they added a couple of more items. How many worlds are there on the tree of life for all the other religions? Okay? So let's go further. Okay? Let's go further with that ideology of the Savior character. Okay? Let's look at Moses in the Hebrew calendar. Moses, who was an immaculate conception, who was cast in the river, and he was taken from the river, and he was the savior of the Hebrews, and he was also Hebrew, but no one knew it, and he didn't know it. Only one person knew it. He grows up, and he's being taught. It's told slightly different. He's being taught as a Egyptian, like a prince. Then he finds out that he's a Hebrew, and he joins them. Then he gets into what? A fight. So he was sent from God to earth and is walking among them and has to learn that he is one of them and has to become unalived for them. Then he gets to be resurrected, And then he frees your mind, frees the world, becomes the light of the world. So Moses then gets turned out, and he knows that he's one of them and you're not really Egyptian, and now we're going to cast him out to the desert so that he'll become unalived. And he wanders the desert until he gives up and he prays to his father and says, I can't go anymore. Father, why have you forsaken me? Wait, what? He didn't say those exact words, but that's what he was saying. Then he laid down in the desert. And if you read the Bible, he became unalived, but God saved him. And then he woke up. He woke up and he saw the world different and he defended the girls. Then guess what? He saw God, talked to him, and God said, go and free my people now. And he went and became the Word of God. He said, I don't know what to say, Lord. What shall I say to them? And he says, I will give you the words. I will speak through you. He says, who shall I say sent me? Because I don't know your name. And he says, I am. Tell them I am sent me. So he told them Adonai sent me, which means I am. And he went back and said, let my people go. And God spoke through him, and he was the Word of God. And then he got his people and took his people to salvation and then ascended. He didn't get to go into the land of milk and honey. God said, no, you don't do that. And then he ascended to heaven. He became the light of the world. God gave him the knowledge that he gave the people, and the Hebrew people followed that, and he was the savior of the Hebrew people. Sound familiar? Same story, different name. So as a theologian, what happens is, Moses, yes. So what happens is, as a theologian, if you look, yes, and it's very Chinese whispers. Same thing happened there. Right? I mean, let's look at Lao Tzu. Now, let's just look at those two guys, the Buddha and Lao Tzu, and what they're teaching became Buddhism and Taoism. They're teaching a way to get to heaven. And guess which way that is? That way is the same way that Moses was teaching, the same way that Jesus was teaching. So from a very real standpoint, Lao Tzu and the Buddha did the same thing. They sacrificed, came down to earth, became human, told people how to get to heaven, showed them the way, and then left and ascended. And they told them the same storylines. Okay? Thank you, baby. Thank you. My wife just popped in, and I think she's probably getting ready to come for lunch. And if she does, when she gets here, I'm going to have to head out, right? Fairy tales are truth that they hid. Yes. Fairy tales are truths that they hid. The religions are spiritual ways to get to heaven that they hid by making a religion out of it. And I'm a minister of 4 different religions, my friends. I'm not telling you this from the mind of something crazy. Thank you, Robbie, for that. I am a theologian, and I have 4 minister titles, and I have 5 spiritual titles. Okay? So I have 5 spiritual titles, 4 of which are religion. One is Reiki Master, which is a very spiritual way that has incorporated the way, which we are not allowing to become a religion. Okay? It would easily become a religion if we weren't teaching it the way we are, but this one has been set up the same way that Taoism and Buddhism is set up by people who were very smart and said we cannot allow this to have a control mechanism by Western European oligarchs. Okay? Okay? So all of the stories, when you read the religions, are allegories. That word, if you've taken philosophy, teaches you the same thing. Wait, what? Wait, what? How many people, show of hands, kids in the audience, how many people have taken a philosophy course, just Philosophy 101? How many people have ever heard of the allegory of the cave? Do you guys know what that is? Does anybody know? Right, I'll give you a few seconds because I know you guys are behind. Then I'm just going to start with it, okay? So remember, I just told you the story of the Savior and how people are, right? So thank you. So Normie, you know the allegory of the cave. Okay. So in the allegory of the cave, 2 people are tied to chairs, sitting, staring at a wall, or tied to a stump, because back then it would have been like Romans telling the story, and they may not have used, I think they used the word chair. Tied up, facing a wall. There's a fire behind them. Their entire lives, they can't turn their heads. Their entire lives are set staring at that wall, and all they see is the shadows dancing on the walls. So their idea of reality is what they can see through the shadows. Sound familiar? Veiling of what they're seeing, and reality isn't what it seems to be. If you take those two people and untie them from that reality that they've never known besides hearing the crackle of fire and seeing the light, and you take them outside and show them the actual world with all of its color and all of its brightness and all of its ways, whether it's nighttime or daytime, those people are going to be afraid, and they're going to run for their lives to go back to the safety of what they know and want to be tied back up and inserted back into the matrix. That's my terms. I'm using that word now to bring you to modern day. Okay? Because that's all they know. And because that's all they know, it's comfortable for them, and they don't want to look at what things really are. Okay? So literally, yeah, but there was no matrix. I used that vernacular, okay? But the truth is, that is what will go on. If you are veiled and you only see the world through little teeny pieces of this shimmering veil, and that's all you ever see, that's all you're ever going to know. If I then grab that veil and pull it off of you, you're going to want that veil back. The allegory of the cave is about the dichotomy of people being veiled and starting to learn that what they think is reality isn't actually reality at all. That what they think is reality is an skewed version of reality, and that there's something beyond that veil. But you can't just pull the veil back off of people, because if you do, then what's going to happen is they're going to freak out and they're going to run back and want that veil at all cost. So the only way that you can actually get someone to wake up and pull the veil back for themselves is you have to allow them to not be tied up, so that they can actually find that veil and start moving it around themselves. Okay? So you have to realize that that's what's going on here, and they even knew about it there. Okay, viewer created reality is the same kind of allegory. If there's a tree in the woods and there's no human around to hear it or see it, if it falls, does it make a noise? Right? And Aristotle said no, because there's no tree, because there's no woods, because there's no one there to witness it. And if you read that on its face, that's an arrogant, bold statement of humans with a viewer created reality. Humans have to be a part of it or it doesn't exist. The truth is, it doesn't to us, because again, it's not real if we're not witnessing it and realizing it. Your focus determines your reality once again. So those allegories were supposed to be there to get you to contemplate. Your focus determines your reality. You don't see reality for what it truly is. You see reality through the eyes of you and your experiences. Those were really supposed to be about. So again, that is the same story in an allegorical form about the descension to earth, because those people who did those things, Thor, Jesus, Moses, who were sent here by God to do that as an example, is what you're doing, my friend. You were sent here by the Creator down in physical form to have an organic experience of living, being unalived, and you're supposed to resurrect and ascend back to heaven. Okay? So you're supposed to realize these things and actually start moving into that. So all of those allegories in philosophy, all of those allegories in spirituality are identical by people thinking about things in the physical and pondering spirituality in the physical, but they don't want to teach you that anymore. So they don't actually tell you, and they go, well, because it's philosophy, and philosophy is the study of thought. No, it's not. Philosophy, that word, you should look up the etymology of that word. It means the love of knowledge, or the knowledge of love. That's what it meant to the Greeks. It didn't mean the story of knowledge. It didn't mean study of knowledge or the study of thinking. Knowledge to them, where we get the word gnosis from, by the way, and Gnostic, that comes from their word for the word knowledge, by the way, meant love, creation. Okay? Logos comes out of that in their language. Okay? So you have to look at those things and realize what's happening. They're all allegories. Okay? My dad was a preacher, but I believe in science. Well, science is trying to unfold the same thing, and they're getting scared right now because science is starting to bear out the idea that we might actually be there. I've talked about that earlier. You might not have been here. On my podcast for the last, 10 years now on my podcast, I have, if you watch the MP4 version of my podcast, which is called Orion Rising, not the MP3 because you just hear the sounds then. During the song playing, I show you visuals, and it's all mathematical equations because I was a physicist when I was in college. It's all mathematical equations, sacred geometry, and the like, especially the Fibonacci sequence and the golden mean ratio. Okay? But there's also a picture, one brain cell, radial image of a brain cell, sitting next to half the screen. The other half of the screen is a radial image of the universe. And the only difference between the two, they're identical, except for the universe has more glia cells, neural pathways, than the brain cell, as above, so below. So science is saying, scary thing, the universe looks exactly like our brain cell. And the universe seems to be AI. And our brain seems to work like that because of Michael Talbot's giving you all of the information about the holographic universe. And that the universe seems to be a hologram. That means that it could be AI. And they're starting to look at that. It looks like a brain cell. It acts like our brain cell. And our brain cell acts like AI. Our brain cell acts like that. So our brains are like that. As below, so above. It's scaring those people, right? It's scaring those people to get into that. Orion, okay? I wrote a book called Orion Rising. That was a very 3D what if storyline about the ancient aliens theory, right? But I use that as my logo for my podcast, and my podcast is called Orion Rising. So was the book. And that is about all the connections from us to Orion. Well, let me tell you about Orion, right? So I'm from Orion. Penny, who's in the audience right now, is as well. Peter, who was here a couple minutes ago, I don't know if he's still here, is as well. My wife, Brooke, who was here earlier just a couple minutes ago, I think she might even still be here, right? She popped in a couple minutes ago, probably on a break or something. She's going to be home for lunch in about a half an hour. So we came here with a large contingent of people from the Orion's belt. There are many of you that are here on this planet who came from Orion's belt, and you're waking up to that. And it's been left for you in history on every kind of way that you can imagine to remind you, on every continent, to remind people that Orion plays a very big part in what's happening here. Okay, there's Pete. He's still there with Penny, are both still here. Okay, so this is stuff that is supposed to be waking the people up. That's why I called my podcast Orion Rising, because the people here are in that position of starting to wake up and realize where they came from in the universe. Okay, all you guys out there are supposed to be doing that now in this time. Okay, that's why I'm capable of telling you these things just outright on even a communist TikTok that is, trying to keep people from spirituality. Okay, why is that? It's the reason for that is the collective consciousness of the total population of this earth has reached a point, a zenith, a seminal point, to where I can say these things to you when I could not say these things to you in any other generation out loud on a public forum, even in the streets. But because the collective consciousness of this earth is in that place to where the average person can hear this, many of them will go, nope, and still run away. There's not 100% of the people that are anywhere near waking up right now. Okay. But there's a really good 80% of the population that's right on that cusp. And you guys know something's wrong and you're looking around. You're going, this isn't right. Something's wrong here and it isn't right. There's supposed to be something else besides this. And it's supposed to be happening, and these religions aren't right, and these governments aren't right, and this timeline's not right, and there are things that I know that they're different, and I don't understand how I know them, and when I ask about it, they go, that's the Mandela effect. You're just remembering things wrong. These are not the droids you're looking for. You do not need to see their identification. You can move along. And that's what they're telling you. Mandela effect. And they'll let you go, oh, it must be CERN and the bad guys. That's it. Now you're on to it. We're the ones doing it. So shh. Nothing to see here. These are not the droids you're looking for. Go move along. Move along. Because they don't want you to know that the reason that you're remembering these Mandela effects is because you were there in that timeline. And now that timeline's merged with a different timeline because there are people like me who came here to fix this because they fractured the timelines. Okay? And it's even foretold in your Bibles where God was so angry with the world that he gave them language and he gave them religion and he separated them. So as below, so above. So if God separated the humans on earth by country and language and they couldn't speak to each other, what makes you think that he didn't do it in time as well? Because that's the fracture that was supposed to be here, because God said, I'm lazy. I need to veil these people and let them do whatever they want. And so therefore, then we can have as many possible futures and as many possible things happen. And we all got lost and we went out and did our own thing. And the timelines shifted into many different timelines because nobody knew what they were doing and they were just creating timelines without knowing they were creating timelines. And now we're merging all of them back to put you on a single point back where you're supposed to be, because the bad guys got here and made sure to fracture your timelines even more. So some of you that are here, remember, thank you very much, Miss Coffee, for that. Some of you that are here, remember these different timelines that they call Mandela effects. Those were real. They don't exist anymore because we blended that timeline with another timeline, and the timeline that you were in, that you were working in to help fix, no longer has to worry about that because you've moved it and fixed it back closer to on point. And now you're collectively moving into a timeline together with other people just like you who are unaware of it that are doing it, but also remember the new timelines. Whenever the old one shifts in, you remember these things. Okay, so that's why sometimes there'll be something where you go, yeah, I don't remember that. You know, the guy from Monopoly, did he have a monocle or did he not? Some of you will go, he's never had a monocle. Some of you are going to go, I know he did because I saw it. And other people are going to dump that now in this timeline. They're going to go, yeah, you're just remembering that wrong. And how is it possible that, say, 30, 40 million people on the earth from 75 to 120 different languages and continents or countries can have the exact same wrong memory? How come there's not variations? Where are the variations of the memories? I remember he had glasses. I remember that he was blind in one eye. I remember he didn't have any eyes. I remember that he wore goggles. Where are all those? They're not here. It's monocle, no monocle. 2. Okay? The current memory is no monocle. The reality that you're in currently, he never had a monocle. But you were in a reality that was not this reality that is merged with this reality. You have moved over here. That's why we've gone from 1984, 2.7 billion souls, to 2026, having almost 9 billion souls. Because we're moving everybody back in together, because you're harder to control when you're together. They've had you fractured. You're moving back together. As we're moving closer to the light, we're coming back in as one. As we're becoming one, as we're going back towards the feminine to go back towards the light. Everybody is collectively getting back together on point. And they know that if we're all together, they can't control us. And that's what's happening. Okay? That's actually what's happening here. So if you have memory of timeline shifts, it's because you were in one. And it shifted into this one because you were helping it move to this one. And those of you who don't remember that, doesn't mean that you are asleep, and that it just means you were in this one. Okay? And if you're awake enough to where you're starting to realize it, you'll see as we go forward, you'll remember new timeline shifts. And you go, oh, I remember that one. How do I remember that one? But I didn't remember the Tinkerbell one. Because the Tinkerbell was 40 years ago. Okay? Do you remember Tinkerbell? Are you old enough to have watched Disney and then Tinkerbell comes right up to the screen and goes poof, and all the sparklies go in your face, and then she flies off and goes over the castle, and all the sparkly trail follows her over the castle, and it says Disneyland or whatever it said? Disney said that never happened, but there are millions, maybe even 100 million people on the earth who remember that one. Okay? But you can't find it because it doesn't exist anymore, because that timeline doesn't exist anymore, but you were in it and you have memory of it. Okay? There, I can go on all day, right? Yeah, Tinkerbell on Disney. Do you remember her going poof and all the sparklies going right in your face and then she goes over that? They say that didn't happen. Tinkerbell just flew around and then flew over the castle, behind the castle, and that's it. That's what you go look it up today. That's all that'll happen. If you remember Tinkerbell flying up to the screen and going pshung, that timeline no longer exists, and you were in a different timeline, and now you're merged into this one with the rest of us. Okay? Because I loved that part too. I did, Robbie. I thought it was the greatest part. She came up and she said, pow, and hit us all with the sparklies, and that meant fairy dust, right? Not anymore. It's gone. Never happened, okay? Do you guys remember Fruit of the Loom having a loom, having the cornucopia? It doesn't, and they say it never did. That shifted as well. That's a timeline. If you remember the cornucopia behind there, the loom behind the fruit, why would they call it Fruit of the Loom when it's just the fruit and there's no loom, right? So if you remember that, right? Lynn says, dude, yeah, right? You said yes. You remember the cornucopia because you were in a timeline where the cornucopia existed. Now you're in a timeline where it never existed. We're pinching the timelines together and they're coming back together as we're writing this place. We're rewriting history. And if you remember them, it's because you're a wanderer. You're one of the ones who, when this body sleeps, when you're veiled, you don't know it, but when this body sleeps, your immortal soul doesn't need sleep. It leaves this body and goes and works, does things out of body, inside the earth, changing the ley lines of the earth, healing the planet, uplifting the vibration of the people, and then you jump back in your body when it wakes up and you go, I just had the coolest dream. I was flying and there was magic. And you don't know that that place was real and you were actually there because your veiling's kicking in again. Your ego's talking to you. Your conscience is talking to you. Your mind's thinking, I got to get up. I got to take a shower. I got to have some coffee. I got to have some food. I got to get to work. What time is it? Oh, man, I got to leave early because I got to be there today. And what if there's an accident? I got to get this stuff done. I got to go to the store and I got to do that. All that's just yelling at you, pulling you right back into this place. It happens when you wake up. Your ego and everything jumps on you and pulls you into this, solidifies you back in the veiling. I have to fight it. I'm unveiled and I have to fight it. I wake up and the same thing happens and I got to go, nope, 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 nope. Okay? So Mandela was faked, right? Well, see, yeah, I mean, if you want to look at it from the 3D standpoint, you can make up stories in your head and go, they cloned him and it was fixed like the moon landing and the planet being round. If you want to stay in 3D, you can do that. Let's talk about the Mandela effect. Which version do you guys remember? There are three. There are three Mandela versions, okay? Do you remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison? That's one. Do you remember Nelson Mandela not dying in prison and becoming the president of South Africa? Or do you remember Nelson Mandela not dying in prison, but then dying and his wife becoming the president of South Africa? Okay? So which one's yes to number two? That's the current timeline we're in. Number two is the current one that we shifted those other two timelines into. Okay? There was a timeline where Nelson Mandela died in prison. And there was another one where he got out of prison and then they assassinated him, but his wife took over and became the president. Those have been shifted into this timeline where he stayed in prison, he got out of prison, and then became the president of South Africa. And that's what the history is here now. Okay. And you slightly remember number one. That means that you came from that one. And the only reason that you only slightly remember it is because you never really thought about it. So it's in your memory. And the reason that it becomes a little bit further back in your memory is because the memory of this new place is trying to push that memory out because it doesn't make sense that you have two. And then when they tell you Mandela effect, you go, oh, I'm just remembering that wrong. And you start pushing your own memories out. That's why they tell you that. Okay, that's why they tell you that. So that you push your own memories out and you doubt yourself and go, okay, I was just tripping. And that never really happened. And that's them going, these are not the droids you're looking for. Nelson Mandela didn't die in prison. That is not another timeline. That is just you remembering things wrong. You do not need to see their identification. You can go about your business, move along. And that's why they're doing that, okay? So, right, get me out of this one. No, this one's actually merging. This is the best timeline there is. There was a timeline here. You guys want me to tell you some other timelines that you missed? Maybe you remember them and you don't. There was a timeline when the Nazi Germany won the Second World War and everybody would be speaking German now. There was also a timeline where Nazi Germany didn't win the Second World War, but the Japanese did, and everybody is speaking Japanese. Okay? There's a timeline where the Russians took over after the First World War, and everybody was speaking Russian. Many different things. Many of you may not have made it. Okay? So those timelines have been shifted into here. There's other ones too. If you guys want me to go down the road, I can give you every timeline that I know that you're a part of. There's many. Okay? So you have to realize, what's that? Is it, dude, you're calling out after you, Christ? Come on, mate. So you have to realize, I'm not sure what you meant there, brother. Are you talking to somebody else? Or are you talking to me? I'm not sure what you're saying there. Okay, so you have to realize that all of these things were designed into this matrix because they're supposed to happen this way. This is the getting lost part and then coming back together. You have that in the Bible, the devil shall rule for a time, rule the earth for a time. That suggests a beginning, a middle, and an end to that time. Doesn't mean forever. Okay. Yes, it is. That actually, it is a choose your own adventure here. That's the whole purpose of it, is so that you can do exactly what you're doing and you have total carte blanche. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to believe anything, right? You don't. That's what Lao Tzu was trying to tell you in the Tao, in Taoism. He who can create his own religion or his own illusion and live in that illusion and stay in that illusion will find their way to heaven. That's the same concept of meditation, okay? You're trying to meditate. When you're meditating, you're trying to raise your vibration, raise your consciousness level to the point where you're outside of this illusion. You're not, you realize, I am not the thinking mind, I am not the ego, and I am not the conscience. I am something higher than that, that is behind all of that or above all of that. I am an immortal spirit that is not that. I am forever. So you're actually then able to create your own illusion, because then you ascend to the realization that I can do whatever I want here, because you gain the knowledge by doing that this place isn't real. Okay? So when you expand your mind to those practices, if you can achieve that in meditation, then you're taught that you're trying to achieve that all day, every day. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to move yourself into a place of a higher vibration where the ego is real quiet, where the conscience is real quiet, where the thinking mind is real quiet, and you, the immortal soul, are actually thinking and witnessing and experiencing, okay? So then you start creating your own reality because you realize it. You realize my focus determines my reality. The focus of all these people determines their reality. The bad guys know it, so they're keeping your focus on everything except for what it's supposed to be on. Okay? Everything's a distraction. Suffering of millions of people is real, though. It's real because they need it to be real. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? They need you to say, people are unaliving because they're not eating because no one's feeding them. So if you think it, it becomes a thing. If you say, no, we are going to feed them all, everyone has food, then guess what's going to happen? There's going to be enough food for everyone and they're going to give it to them. But if you say and you focus with your mind, they're over there in that place that they told me about and they're starving to death. People over there will be starving to death because the collective consciousness of the earth is allowing it to happen because they're forcing it on them. That was the whole purpose of the song by the band Garbage called Zombie. The whole purpose of that was using the allegory of the war between the North and the South of Ireland, and the propagation of that war only happened because we were all holding that war in our minds, and that was forcing the war to continue because the kids had no choice. That's the whole purpose of racism stays racism, because your father's grandfather taught your grandfather, and your grandfather taught your father, and your father's teaching you. Okay, that is continuing the chains of slavery. Okay, so if we say there's people over there and they're starving, there's going to be people over there starving because we all say that. Okay, so when you say that's real, we can't, I'm not going to vote. Here's another example. I'm not going to vote because I can't do anything because the bad guys just own everything and I can't change it and my vote doesn't even count. If you and everyone else thinks that, guess what? They get to keep their power because you're not stopping them. They're usurping your free will and distracting you into giving them what they want with your free will. Because you're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. They're always going to be in charge. And you tell each other that. And the more of you that believe that, the more of it that makes it. Okay? So, no, bro, that's just the way it works. That is I think if you're talking to me, right? I'm saying bro, and you're actually a woman, aren't you? Goddess, right? What is that? What is that? Larimir goddess? I'm sorry. I'm saying your name wrong. I'm probably thrashing it. If you're talking to me, right? Political party systems are, yeah, they are. They are bullshit. But here's the thing. They got you believing that they're real. So because of that, we're allowing them through osmosis to have that control over us. They're crap. They're all two wings of a bird, the same bird. Okay, the conservative and the progressive party, you have one in your country. If you're not under a dictatorship, if you're not under a monarchy, then you're under the same oligarchy that you don't realize you're under. And even if you are a monarchy or any one of those others, even a dictatorship, you're actually still under the oligarchy system that it thinks that they own this planet. Okay, so they get you fighting amongst yourselves between thinking I'm a conservative, so that person's my enemy, or I'm a Democrat or whatever it's called, the progressive, whatever it's called in your country, so that person's my enemy. They get you fighting with each other on social media. That's all you do is chase each other around and go, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. And guess what? Both of those groups of people are ripping you off for all of your money. And they're keeping you as slaves because they're keeping you focused on fighting amongst yourselves and believing that your party's in charge and the other half believes their party's in charge. And guess what? They trade power of who's in charge back and forth to keep you guys still fighting with each other over it. And that's all you do is focus on it. And then they tell you have to have a separation of church and state. You know why they say that? Because church is the spiritual side and state is the physical side. And they're both two sides of the same religion. They are the yin and yang. The religion of state is the maritime law, business, money, power, fame, control mechanism that is physicality. And they can't have the church, the non-physical, telling their religion what to do. So they get you believing that you have to have a separation between church and state. So you can't have the church telling the state what to do, and you can't have the state telling the church what to do. So they get to play opposites. And they use that to their advantage. Politicians do the same thing. They use that to their advantage. They're both lying to you. They're both telling you the other person is the greatest evil on the face of the earth whenever the other person's in charge. And they're both getting you to pay them hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And guess what's happening? They're both staying in power, one, then the other, then the one, then the other, then the one, then the other. And you just go through your life happy for 4 years or 8 years, and then unhappy for 4 or 8 years if you're in the United States. Whatever else in other countries, whatever 5 years, 7 years, whatever your thing is, they got you set up on it. You're doing the exact same thing. And guess what? You're not doing. You're not looking within yourself, and you're not trying to fix things, right? Yes, but if you have the false religions intertwined with the governments, then you have an authority theocracy or theocracy. You're absolutely right. Okay? That's why the first thing that I wrote in my book was religion recruits you, spirituality waits for you to find it. You as an adult are supposed to realize what we've been talking here to be true, and realize what you just said, that wait, then you just have a theocracy. You're supposed to realize that and come to terms with that and go, man, they're just running us from all sides. And that's what I was trying to show you. That was an oligarch showing, or an oligarchy, or a parable of showing you political parties, religions, right? Politics, religion. Okay? You're supposed to find your spiritual path by looking within yourself, not looking without to some book. The books that they're teaching you are actually allegories. Again, they're trying to show you, but they have to do it with codes, because the bad people will edit that out and not let you read that part. And that's what they've done over the centuries. Okay? So there's codes in there, and they have code words to tell you in these religions. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. Let him who has the ears to hear, let him who have the eyes to see. Those are highlights that says what I'm about to say means something different than what you will be reading. Okay, for the instance, let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. You know the rest of that verse as, for it is a human number, and its number is 666. You know that translated that way, or 666. Let's translate it to the new international version, NIV version of the Bible. Okay, the translation has been changed when they brought it down, even after the translation from King James. Okay, but the King James version of the translation was a little bit different. That one still had the word saying it slightly differently. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. For it is a human number, right? That's not the translation. If you go back far enough, you realize, and you read other scrolls, you realize that that translation was not it is a human number, but it is the number of man. And its number is 666. That's the actual translation that they changed from you. And what does that mean? Okay, so you guys say, well, it's the number of the devil. It's the number of the beast. What exactly is that? It is the number of the beast. That part is correct. Well, 666. So 666, the devil. So Satanism took 666 and they played with it. And they look at you and go, 666, 666, devil, 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 devil worship. Because of the wrongful translation. Okay? 666, you're a carbon-based unit. Yes, yes, goddess, right? You are a carbon-based unit. Okay, if you guys, those of you who don't know physics, this place, me, us, we're in a place where we're mostly carbon. The stars and all of the pieces and the particles that make us up, the majority of them are 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. Bing, 666. The number of the beast, physical plane reality, is what they were talking about. Okay? Physical, Normie, you want to bring up scriptures physical? Yes. That they were telling you in the physical. Here's another version, okay? You want to hear this one? Here's another one that those of you, you can do this right now, right when we're done here. Just remember this and you can do this, okay? Letters to the churches. Let's go with the Christian religion again. The letters to the churches that, depending on the timeline, you either remember Peter was in Patmos in jail and he wrote the letters to the churches that are in Revelations, or you remember John was in Patmos in jail, because both of those timelines, some of you were in. And the one now I believe is John, but some people still remember Peter. Either way, One of the apostles was on the island of Patmos in prison, and he wrote the letters to the churches. Why did we keep the letters to the churches for 2,000 years in that Bible? What did he say in those letters that was so important to the entire human race that we left those in the Bible the entire time? Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is, right? That's not right. Oh my God, let's go, right? Yeah. So let me tell you what it is, okay? Take the letters to the churches. How many letters are there? There's 7 letters to 7 churches. Open up a page on your computer for the chakras and find out what the chakras mean, red ray root all the way to the crown, and how to balance them. Okay? Then you take the letters to the churches and you read the very first letter to the first church and you look up the etymology, not direction, not place, of that church name. So don't look up the Church of Philadelphia. They're going to say Philadelphia was a church that existed in the 1st century and blah, 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 blah. That's what they want you to think. What does the word Philadelphia mean in Aramaic or in Yiddish back then or in Sanskrit? You're going to find that the origin of that word is going to be the same archetype as the red ray root chakra. And the letter that God wrote, or that he wrote, John or Peter, wrote, is telling you, oh, you people of, and those people are going to be of that color, of the red ray chakra, of the archetype of the root chakra. Those of you who don't do this and you're wicked, you don't get to go to heaven. Unbalanced red ray chakra. But those of you who do this and live your life this way get to go to heaven. Balanced red ray root chakra. Then go to the next letter to the next church and do the same thing. You're going to find that it is the orange chakra, and it goes up from there. And all of the chakras, that's why the only reason that they left those in, they didn't leave those in just because somebody at the beginning of the church wrote letters yelling at the churches and we kept them for 2,000 years. How come we didn't keep the second letters that were written? How come we didn't keep the very first Pope's letters to the churches that he wrote? How come no Pope from any church, none of the letters from any Pope since then were put into the Bible from what he said that was so cool to the churches? But this one, those letters were left in. You know why? Because it is a code and it tells you in there, let him who hath understanding, let him who have the eyes to see. Every single letter to the church says that before or after it says what it says for the letters for the churches. I tell you, truly, that is how to balance your chakras. Okay? Where else does that exist in literature, Leo? The Egyptian Book of the Dead. You want to get to heaven, you have to have the certain spells. Because if you have those spells written and sent with your body, you'll have the codes that you have to give to the 7 gatekeepers, archetypes, 7 chakras. You have to know the secret name of each gatekeeper, and you have to give them the riddle of how to balance that chakra so that you can go to the next gate and the next gate and the next gate. And eventually, if you have all of the answers properly, which is how to balance your chakra, that archetype, you get to get into heaven. Okay? So, yeah, right? Gates, right? So it's the same. It's the same thing, right? And now my phone is tripping and because I touched something and I can't read your guys' stuff. Okay? So you literally have to look at that stuff, right? I've heard people say Trump is in the Bible. Well, in essence, he is not named, but his archetype of what he's doing is in there because of the same thing. It's if you look at the archetype of here's another thing, when God then chooses someone down on earth to go on the hero quest in some way to help people expand their consciousness and learn and find their way back, then there are certain things that have been done that whether people want to know it or not, things like, having the clip on the ear, that God does that. You can look at that and say, yeah, that's just lucky, whatever, but the man, if he didn't do this, that wouldn't have happened and he would not be here with us. So just him doing this, and he also put that thing up on the screen, and he normally puts it up on the screen at the end of the speech, and he decided to put it at the beginning of the speech, and because he turned his head to look at the thing that was up there, that caused him to just go perp, and he believes that was a sign, maybe not from the Bible or maybe from there, but he believes that was just a thing that happened to him because he was supposed to be doing something to help people. History will bear that out, whether that's a thing or not, right? But some people believe that. They believe that that's a thing that's going on. But you have to realize, we'll see in history, right? We don't know the answer to that right now, right? And I don't want to get into the weeds of that religion because it's not mine, right? That's not my religion. I'm here to teach you guys to think for yourself. You guys can look at that stuff, and I would suggest that you should, okay? So I suggest that you would continue looking into that stuff to see what is that's been said, right, about that scenario, and does he fit those? It's like the Kachina, right? The blue Kachina, the Hopis and the Native Americans talking about the Kachina, the goddess, who said, in a time in the future, I will return and I will shine like a blue star in the sky, and all will see. Okay? So I didn't know about that. Let me tell you that story. I didn't know about that legend, even though I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and moved to the Four Corners. I was in Arizona. And I didn't hear that story, but I knew about the Hopi Rock legend, about the split in the timelines, okay? Hadn't heard about that. I'm over here in Australia. While Three Eye Atlas is cruising around in the neighborhood, I'm pondering that because people are saying Three Eye Atlas is a spacecraft or a drone, and Three Eye Atlas is conscious, and I'm channeling all this. It's just a rock floating, is what I'm telling people, right? So one night I'm sleeping, and in my dream, I walk outside and I look up at the stars and I see the Milky Way galaxy above me in the sky, and I'm looking at it and thinking how beautiful it is. And every star in the sky turns blue, bright blue, shiny blue, shining at me. And I'm like, what? That is cool. What does that mean? Wow. Then the alarm goes off and I wake up. Got to get up, got to get the wife ready for work, start the day. I got a class to teach that day. I don't think about it. I don't even tell my wife about it. Then later that day, I said, when we were on lunch, I had this dream. It was really weird. I tell my wife about it. Blue, turned blue. Later on that afternoon, I'm sitting there after my class. I'm sitting there talking, and I go on here on TikTok, and a buddy of mine, Eddie Hinesley, who I was on his show, and he was on my live just the other day with what's her name, who was in the audience here. She came up and was talking as well. Eddie was on, I think, the Commander's live. And there was another guy on there who I've never met, but I know him, and Eddie knows him. And he knows a lot about Native American stuff. And they were talking about Three Eye Atlas. So I stopped and I started listening. I'm like, it's just a rock, man. But I had heard that Three Eye Atlas did some weird stuff, and that's why people were really looking at it. Went around the sun, and it had a red contrail. And then when it went around the sun, this contrail flipped the wrong direction, and it turned blue. I didn't know that until that day. I knew that the contrail was going in the wrong direction, but I didn't know the color. And it turned blue, and they started talking about that and how that fit with the Kachina, the goddess, who said, a time in the future, I will return like a thief in the night. Wait, what? I'll return, and there will be a light in the sky that will be blue, and everyone will look at it. And that will usher in the time and let you know that I have returned, and the sacred feminine is going to rise on the earth from that point on, and the earth is going to move into the new utopia. So I hear this about the blue, the star in the sky, and that it was Three Eye Atlas, and that's what it did, and that the natives think that that's the Hopi legend of the blue Kachina, and that she was saying that. Well, weirdly, at that exact time, I know that we're moving into that state here on this earth of the sacred feminine being the fastest growing information. Okay? And that everything that they're saying is actually happening. And then they're saying that about Three Eye Atlas. So then the divine feminine rising. It's and literally the fastest thing coming. Okay. So, and they've suppressed the gospel of Sophia. They've suppressed the gospel of Mary. There is the Sophia is been everything feminine. Let's just go with that. Look what they did to Lilith. Look at what they did to Eve. Look at what they did to all of the women in the everything. They couldn't have you guys. They had to have you guys shut up, sit down, and stop thinking. Couldn't teach you, keep you quiet. They came out with the witch's hammer. The Witch's Hammer was a book that taught them how to shut up free-thinking women before they started getting the feminine rising, and then they would unalive you if you didn't shut up. That was being done on purpose to keep people in a low vibration that was more violent and fearful so they could control people. Okay, so I go out then, and I leave the live, and I'm like, okay, I got to find out if this is accurate. I go online, and I'm got AI even assisting, and I'm just looking things up. And thank you for smashing those hearts, champions. Keep smashing those hearts for me. Okay. And I look it up and I see that, and there's my wife. Thank you, baby. I love you. She must be getting off for lunch now. I think she is. If so, I'm going to have to go so that her and I can eat. Okay. So literally, I think my phone is, what's happening with my phone? My phone is dying. It needs to be plugged in. All right. I'm going to take this cord out of this phone and plug it into my other phone over here because it's keeling over on me and I need to have power to it. All right. Hold on, guys. I got to plug this in. Maybe I can't plug it in and it's just going to have to be dead. No, I got it plugged in. Okay. So literally, I apologize for that. I had my other phone here that I monitor the show on and it was dying on me. Okay. So literally I look it up. I have AI help me look it up and I ask AI questions like, did this thing turn blue and how did it turn blue and what was the chemical reaction and why did it turn blue? Okay. So 3i Atlas verified that it had a contrail that flipped around the wrong way. That got the attention of every astronomer on Earth, and then it turned from red to blue. I'm like, that's fulfilling the Kachina. That's fulfilling that everybody was looking at it. And then I said, okay, well, is that rare? How often does a satellite or any kind of asteroid or anything like that, meteor, do that? How often does that happen? And all of a sudden AI starts stammering. It does happen. And how often does that happen? Well, and I'm like, AI is actually trying not to tell me the answer to this. And I'm realizing that. And that's bothering me. Why would AI be trying to not give me the answer to this? Because the AI bot knows that I was looking up 3i Atlas and the Blue Kachina legend. So now it's trying to keep information from me. And so then I had to change the algorithm of my questioning away from that and tune my questioning the same way that if I was casting a spell, I would make sure that the spell I was casting was very, very on point. Intention, intention, intention. How many times in the last 250 years has an asteroid acted the same way and created a blue streak when it was a different color before that in the sky around the Earth? Well, and it still started dying up there. Well, we don't really know how many because if it wasn't witnessed by someone, it's almost impossible to predict how many times that it did that, but it could do that. Okay, how many times in the last 250 years is the human race aware and has had people see a comet or a body in the sky do that? Well, again, it's really hard to tell. It could be, less than a handful. What is the actual number? If you're saying less than a handful, why can't you give me the exact number? Well, because it's difficult to how many of them that happened to in the last 250 years on this earth had more than 100 people witness it. 3. How many of those things that have occurred in the history of our earth or the last 250 years had more than 100 people witnessing it? 2. How many of those in the history of the world doing that had more than 1 million people witness it? 1. Thank you. What was that one? 3i Atlas. So I had to hone that question to get AI to say the answer because AI didn't want to say the answer because it was obviously programmed not to. Okay? So eventually I got it to say, well, yeah, okay, so this one got more people's attention on the face of the earth than any other one. The other ones were like, out of the 6 that happened in the last 250 years, 4 of the 6 were only witnessed by one person. One other one was witnessed by about 100 people on the earth. 3i Atlas was witnessed by more than 1 million people. Not to mention the people who saw it in the sky at their house with their little telescopes that could see it. So I'm like, so this actual event is fulfilling 100% accuracy, the Kachina legend by them. Well, we can't actually definitively say that because there could be another event. Okay, so I knew the answer to that. Okay, so they were trying to shut that down because they didn't want people to realize that that could be an actual event. The same thing with the aforementioned ear of the orange guy getting clipped and that being mentioned in the Bible, that it could be something, because the same thing would occur. If the amount of people on the earth believed that, then they would look it up and realize that it's possible that the Creator chose that individual to do something to help the world. And moreover, if you don't want to go down that road, moreover, if everybody in the world knew that the Kachina legend seems to have been fulfilled, it's the same thing with the legend of Jesus. And there's people out there saying he's not the Savior because he didn't fulfill the prophecies. Jesus fulfilled more than 3,000 prophecies. Not just one, not just 2, not just 10, 3,000 different things in different places in the Bible. That character happening at that time and everything that was there that was done at exactly that time. So it wasn't like he read the Bible and said, I'm going to pretend I'm this guy. Because everything had to line up, including his birth, when, where, under what star. Like his mom had to be Immaculate Conception. He was Immaculate Conception. Many other things that he had no control over. He couldn't have just made it up. The same thing occurs when people try to tell you the Romans created that whole scenario. They just made it up. Well, if that's the case, they had to have sat down with the Hebrew Bible and created all of that and got like everybody in society except for 15 people, because it was 15 Pharisees who decided that they needed to unalive him to get him out of the way because he was getting in their way of power. So they had to convince everyone else, and specifically those 15, to fight against it. Okay? Because not the rest of them didn't. Okay, even the most scholarly minds of that Sanhedrin and that religion believed he was the Savior. So it was only like 15 guys who said, nope. And they were the ones that orchestrated his unaliving on the cross. Okay? You can look that up. That's historic evidence, not made up. People are like, there is no definitive proof that Jesus ever existed. Yeah, actually there is. You just got to do some homework because it's there. More than 400 people wrote about that guy. It wasn't just the 12 apostles. It wasn't just Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. It wasn't just a couple of Romans in the 300s. Hi, I love you. All right, so my wife's home, so I'm going to have to hop off here, guys, to spend some time with my wife because I love my wife. She's here for lunch, and I only have her for 45 minutes before she has to go back to work. So I love you guys. I might be back live later on to have some more of these conversations, right? So you guys have to read, right? Norman's saying, read up, mate. That's what I do, okay? So I don't know if you're talking to me, brother, but I'm a theologian. I've been spending my life since I was 8 years old doing this and reading, right? So if you're telling me I need to read up, bro, you need to read up because that's what I do. I'm a theologian and I have 4 minister titles. This is my life. I wrote a book about it, right? So I love it when somebody who thinks they know the Bible goes, dude, no, I've studied the Bible for 5 years. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I've studied that Bible and every other one on the face of this earth. And the scrolls you've never even heard of. They're telling the same storyline, okay? I know more about what's going on in every single religion than most of the people on this earth. And there are some people who talk about it. There's a guy right now that wrote a book about it. His name is Matt LaCroix. You guys should look him up. He's done a couple of interviews. He's like 35 and he's gone to these sites around the world and he's telling you the same thing I'm telling you. Not because he's a student of mine, because I never met the man, but because he independently, because of looking into all of the places around the earth, their history, their spirituality, their politics, and everything else, he's came to the same conclusion that I have and that many other people, when they don't get caught in theology, comparing religion and saying, well, that scroll looks like this scroll, so they must have borrowed that scroll, and we need to find the oldest scroll. And they forget about, well, what did it talk about? What's the actual words? Never mind that now. We got to find the oldest scroll. There's another one out there somewhere that's going to say, I'm creating this scroll brand new for the first time. So then they can go, that's the guy who invented it. No one says that. No one is saying that. No one ever says that. So you're never going to find a scroll that says, I've made it all up and it's been a trick. Because if the guy did that and made it up and said that and it was left behind, everyone would have found it and they would have gone, it's a trick, and they'd have thrown it away by now and you would have never heard about it. Okay? So the fact that you're never going to find the end of the internet, you're never going to find that scroll that says this scroll is the very first scroll and me, whatever, insert crazy old dude's name from 100,000 years ago. I, me, un fufu is creating this religion to fool the world, because that's what they're trying to find. So they can go, it was all made up, and then throw it all out. That's what they want. So what they're doing is they pay these theologians, because just like they do archaeologists, okay? They go, this is the answers that we want from that, not this other answer. And your fringe, if you look at religion and see that the spiritual practice is the same and it's preaching a different religion or a different practice than the one that we are approving, then you're a liar. And that's what they've done on this earth, and that's what they're doing to you. Start thinking for yourself and ask questions, right? Right? Because that's what they say. You've made everything up. Right? So, Normie, if you think I've made it all up, go and ask those questions. I tell people this, don't believe I've said anything that's the truth. Believe I've made it all up, and then go and read it all for yourself, okay? Because what's going to happen is you're going to realize that it's the truth, right? So if you think I've made it all up, bro, then show me. Where's your credentials? Are you a theologian? Have you studied religion your entire life? Have you done that? Because if you have, then if you have a half a brain, you would actually know what I know. Okay, so you're saying I made it all up. You're stuck in 3D. You're stuck with a religion that you were probably taught, and you believe that religion is the right one, and all other religions are fake, right? So if that's what you think, right? If that's what you think, then that just shows that you're stuck. That's what they want you to do. They want you to do exactly that. They do the same thing with history. They do the same thing with archaeology. Archaeologists go out, if they find something and they're not preaching the same narrative, the people grab control of it and don't let you take a hold of it, okay? I know for a fact, but I can't prove this, so when I say this, you can say I made this up too. I was actually given pictures back 10 years ago of the oldest Christian church known to history. And it exists 7 clicks outside of Cairo. And it's completely intact because it was buried in the sand, and these people found it and they were excavating it, and they sent me pictures. They wanted me to help them get the information out to the world. And so I identified that, looked at it, and started talking to people that I know in the industry to see if we could get this information out to the world. Somebody else who I was talking to told people, and the Egyptian government came and took control of the site and fired all those people. And then the American government came to my house and wiped all of the pictures off of every hard drive that I had to make sure that I did not have them, and told me to cease and desist, and gave me a cease and desist letter, which I don't have, or I would put it up in front of your eyes, and told me to leave that stuff alone and stay away from that and never to talk about it. So I'm still talking about it because it ticks me off. Okay, but there is no proof now. They took the proof because somebody didn't want anyone to know how far back Christianity goes, and that there's one of the oldest churches in the history of the world that is the oldest church to show that Christianity did not start in Europe. And people are starting to talk about that now. That Christianity started in that Holy Land and moved around the world, and that Christianity was in Africa far before it ever made its way to Europe. Because the Romans took control of it and made it a Romanized religion, and they're teaching the book of Romans. If you realize that that religion truly goes all the way back, that shows that the Christ, the guy named Jesus, is giving more and more light to the empirical proof that proves that, if you start finding churches that were built in the 2nd century and 3rd century. So right now, there's no churches except for the ones from the 14th, the 11th, 12th, 14th century, and they're all in Europe and stuff. Therefore, you have plausible deniability, and you can say the religion doesn't really exist because there's no empirical proof. But when you start finding religions, or say a Bible that comes out of Ethiopia, which is in Africa, by the way, right? That shows that their Bible is complete, and the stories in the Bible and the books in the Bible just happen to coincide with the 68 books that were taken out of the Bible that people say didn't happen, that are exactly the 68 books from the Bible that we found in the Dead Sea area in 1947, 1948, that they say were not in the Bible and were taken out because they were lies. And the Ethiopians go, no, they were being edited out, and we told them we weren't going to let them do it, and we left. And these books are actual books. And guess what? Those books tell a different story. They tell the same kind of story that I'm telling you. Okay, and I know that because I've read them. Because I study that stuff. Okay? You're a professor of psychology, so that makes you a religious scholar? That makes you a theologian because you know psychology, bro? So what? Okay, so because you're a professor of psychology, you're paranoid and you think that what I'm doing is a psyop, don't you? That's hilarious. So you think that I'm actually a psyop because I'm using psychology to like brainwash people, right? And that's hilarious. And you think I have no idea. That's hilarious because you have a psychology degree that makes you think that you have the knowledge of the world, right? Wow. See, there's ego. What you have is a really big ego, my friend. That's what you have. You have a really big ego, and you think that because you understand psychology, that you understand history and you understand religion, and you think that what that Constantine did wasn't psychology, and that it's possible that none of it, I'm just making this up. Is that what you think I'm doing? I'm just making all of this up. See, those people like you are hilarious. I love you guys, because you should go to work for the federal government of the United States with that kind of paranoia, to where you think everything's a psyop. You'd fit in perfect there, bro. That's hilarious. You need to get out of your own way, bro. No ego, bro. Come on, you're all ego. If you think that psychology makes you a history major and a theological major,
Oh, and don't forget, he knows biology and
because
chemistry.
of that.
So do we.
Yeah, right. So if you think that, then you're ego, dude. My God, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, he is a hater. So, but I've left him in because I wanted to talk to him. He's just now gone to
You're a hater.
what people do.
Okay.
What people do, no, Normie, yeah. What people do is exactly what he does, and at the last minute they go, "You made that all up." There is no empirical proof. That's the only language that they have. Then when they get to a point where that doesn't work, they go, "That's a coincidence." That's what the ego does when it doesn't have anything else to talk about. They come out like that, and like then he's trying to turn it around. I'm a hater because I'm talking about what I know, and he's out of his lane. That would be like me saying, I bet you think you can do brain surgery too, because you know psychology. I could do brain surgery. I could actually fly to the moon because I am a psychologist. Therefore, I am the smartest person on the face of the earth. You don't know anything about religion. You know about psychology, bro. Seriously? Yeah, that's hilarious, right? So, yeah. Okay. So, all right. I got to go, guys. Right? Normie, I love you, my friend. I really do. And I've loved having this conversation with you. But you got to wake away from the third dimension. You're caught in that psychological trap. When you guys learn that stuff, then all of a sudden you guys don't even trust your own thinking, which is crazy. And then your own ego gets a hold of you because you literally think that you know everything there is to know about the world because you know psychology. That's kind of scary, bro. That would you do that with everything? Do you think that you're a better politician than Donald Trump? I'll bet you do think that. That's ego, bro. That's ego, right? That's full on ego. It's crazy. So, whatever, man. Okay, so yeah, that's just the way it is. All right, so I love you guys. I'm gonna have to go because I want to eat lunch with my wife. I'll be back on later. Normie, if you want to come back on later so that I can like say block you or silence you, but I won't because one of the other guys would do that for me, right? But if you want to come back and try and hate on me, then we can have the debate, right? But yeah, psychology doesn't give you a history major, bro, nor does it give you a theological major. You don't know anything about religion. Just because you know psychology, you think you can. I know religion because I know psychology. That doesn't give you shit. It doesn't give you anything. Yeah, see, and then you're saying, I don't have any ego. You don't have any ego. You're arrogant and think you know everything because you know psychology, bro. That's hilarious, right? That's just insane. So, okay, guys, I have to go. So, love that guy and follow him, all of you guys. Let's see what he does on his show. I bet he doesn't even have one. I bet he's just a troll. And he goes around and he just does that and acts like he knows everything that's going on. No, don't mute him. I'm about to leave, Penny. If he comes back, we'll deal with him the next time. I got to get off here to have some lunch with my beautiful wife, who he even made comments about your red hair. So, yeah, and there was, I'm sure, some psychology to women who dye their hair red, right? I bet you guys have a theory about that. And you just know that if they have red hair, then they have some sort of issues that you guys need to give them drugs for, right? So anyways, guys, all right. So no, don't worry about him right now. He'll either come back later or he won't, right? So, yeah, whatever. All right, I love you guys. Have a great day. For the rest of you, like, listen to the psychologist and assume I've made it all up, and then go down that rabbit hole and look that stuff up for yourself. Because when you do, you're going to see that everything that I said is true. There's nothing that I said to you is a lie, but believe that every word I've said is a lie. I cannot convince anyone of anything. The only thing I can do is hope to get you to start thinking for yourself. Okay? That's it. All right? So, yeah, you guys have a choice. Everybody that was in here while I was talking to that guy, you guys have a choice. You can believe that being a psychologist gives you a degree in theology, and that he knows about religion better than I do because he has a degree in psychology. And that makes him an expert on history and religion and other things that I've spent my entire life learning about. Wrote a book about it. Let's see if he's got a book about religion and spirituality. All right, guys, I love you guys. I will talk to you guys, right? I love you, Peter. Thanks for being here. Penny, thank you for coming in and being here. I love the rest of you guys. I'll be back live probably tonight. I don't know for sure. Although if Norman, old Normie there, wants me to go live, he can let me know when, and I'll go live at the same time so you guys can see him tell me that he's probably a brain surgeon, or that he knows everything about politics, or he knows everything about business. He's probably knows more about business than the most economic minds in the world because he has a psychology degree, right? But he doesn't have any ego. All right, guys, I love you guys. Have a great day. I will see you guys next time when you guys want to know what the truth is about your reality. Or you could ask the psychologist on what he believes is the truth about religion, because, you know, that's his wheelhouse. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day.